Chapter 2244. The whole place was silent. Teacher Yi's hand, which was reaching for the ghost doctor, froze in midair. The fat teacher's smiling face stiffened. The surrounding students sucked in a breath of cold air, incomparably shocked. What did the ghost doctor say? His disciple? Disciple? Yiqing Luo was really ghost doctor's disciple? Just when everyone was filled with doubts, Devil Class's 10 students all surrounded Ghost Doctor, as they greeted him with a beaming face. Sir Ghost Doctor, you're finally here. If you didn't come, our Qing Luo would be bullied to death. Yan Xiaoyi intentionally leaned closer to Ghost Doctor's side, as she gave Yan Yu a meaningful look. That's right, Sir Ghost Doctor, some students in the class of gods kept on insulting our Qing Luo, saying that she is a little slut who uses your reputation to cheat others. They feel that our devil class doesn't have any backing and we can't win against them. A few devil class students nodded their heads in agreement. Each of them was more aggrieved than the other. The flames around the ghost doctor's body grew increasingly cold. The students of the class of gods shuddered involuntarily. Normally, no matter how high and mighty they were, no matter how proud they were. However, when facing powerful seniors like the headmaster, he would still listen to them obediently. Now that the ghost doctor was angry, the students of the class of gods knew that they were in the wrong and lowered their heads, not daring to make a sound. Teacher Yi was stunned as well. He watched helplessly as Ghost Doctor turned around, walking towards Yiqing Luo's direction. The devil class students all opened up a path. In a direction that the Ghost Doctor couldn't see, they looked towards Yan Yu. The grievance on their faces was replaced by pity and sympathy. Anger invaded Yan Yu's limbs and bones. Her face was malevolent as she stared venomously at Yiqing Luo. Unable to believe that Ghost Doctor was really real, he walked towards Yiqing Luo. This group of trash. What right did he have to look at her like that? Why should he pity her, sympathize with her? She was a student of the high and mighty class of gods. He was a talented, profound practitioner who could ascend to the upper realm in the future. What right did this bunch of trash have to look down on her? But Yan Yu saw with his own eyes. Ghost Doctor walked to Yiqing Luo's side. Raising his hand, which had always been used to refining pills, he rubbed Yiqing Luo's head. Little Luo, I'm not here and you start to cause trouble? The Ghost Doctor's voice was still very cold, but anyone could tell that this kind of coldness, compared to the coldness she had shown to the others earlier, was like a completely different person. Yiqing Luo rubbed against Ghost Doctor's palm as she revealed a sweet smile. I'm an obedient and well-behaved student who has never created any trouble. The Ghost Doctor rolled her eyes at her. How do you want to deal with this matter? Yiqing Luo raised her brows and looked at Teacher Yi. The 3 masters were stunned by the scene in front of them. The students of the devil class had completed the 50 kilograms weight run an hour earlier. They were already very shocked and astonished. Today, the news of Yiqing Luo being Ghost Doctor's disciple had been personally verified by Ghost Doctor himself. Furthermore, the Ghost Doctor, who had always been afraid of trouble, had personally come to the class of gods to support his disciple. It could be seen that the Ghost Doctor truly doted on her little disciple. This lady called Yiqing Luo. Just where did she come from? Now, Ghost Doctor actually wanted to ask Yiqing Luo how to deal with these people who had wrongly accused her and slandered her. Directly bypassing these few masters, it could be seen that Ghost Doctor was really infuriated. Chapter 2245. Yiqing Luo's words also successfully stopped the masters from pleading on behalf of their student. Ghost Doctor had personally come to support his disciple. If they didn't punish this student who had been targeting Ghost Doctor's disciple, that would be not giving Ghost Doctor any face. Although they were all experts who came down from the upper realm, but in front of Ghost Doctor, they were nothing. The 3 masters' expressions stiffened as they hurriedly stepped forward. The 3 of us will handle this matter properly and will not be biased. Ghost Doctor's face was gloomy as he gave a cold snort. The 3 masters lowered their heads as they stared at Yan Yu hatefully. Yenyu felt as though something had exploded in her brain. It was as if something had collapsed. Her vision turned black as she fell limply onto the ground. The students who had always been on good terms with Yenyu didn't dare to step forward to help her, afraid that Yi Qing Luo's anger would be directed to them. Yi Luo bit her lower lip as she looked at Yenyu, wanting to step forward but not daring to. Yi Qing Luo sneered as she took in the entire scene. She scoffed lightly as her eyes were filled with disdain and despise towards Yenyu. No matter if it was the Heavenly Academy or this self-proclaimed high and mighty class of gods, it was inevitable for them to be the same as ordinary people. This was human nature. No matter how they were on good terms and treated each other honestly, once it involved their own interests, they would fall out faster than flipping a book. Hurry and carry her down. Teacher Yi glanced at the group of students who were trembling in fear. This group of students only knew how to bully the weak and fear the strong. Usually their eyes grew on top of their heads. In front of Ghost Doctor, all of them were frightened to such an extent. The masters expressed that it was shameful to have taught such a student. Those students actually turned their gazes towards Ghost Doctor. Although they were taught not to understand the ways of the world, but he saw that the three masters were all extremely respectful towards the Ghost Doctor. They knew clearly that this Ghost Doctor was the real boss. Ghost Doctor didn't say anything, so they didn't dare to carry Yenyu. This action caused the faces of the three teachers to darken. Not waiting for Ghost Doctor to open his mouth, Yi Qing Luo had already laughed out, "Fatty teacher, Teacher E, Teacher Shun, although teaching students to raise their abilities and becoming strong is the most crucial thing. But how should I put it? This is the principle of being a human, it's time to teach him." The faces of the masters darkened even more. But due to the Ghost Doctor's presence, he didn't dare to flare up. Yi Qing Luo's charming eyes swept across their expressions and couldn't help but let out a light laugh. This is the class of God, the three masters are the real masters of the class of God. My master is just a guest. As the students of the class of God, you're trying to take advantage of my master's mood. Where are the faces of the three masters? Even though she was smiling, it was a smile. However, his voice was powerful and resonant, causing people to be shocked. She let go of the Ghost Doctor's arm, her gaze calm and indifferent as it swept over the students of the class of gods. Perhaps it was because the Ghost Doctor was present. Or perhaps it was because Yi Qing Luo's aura was too majestic. The students of the class of gods instinctively lowered their heads. Yenyu was so infuriated that she was trembling. "I'm not teaching you anything, I just want you to know clearly who your masters are, who have always been teaching you, who gave you the right to be so arrogant and supercilious." Yi Qing Luo's voice was calm without any undulations. Chapter 2246. When she said this, her voice paused for a moment. Fatty Master immediately continued, "Today's matter is due to our lack of teaching. In the coming month, I guarantee that today's matter will not happen again." As for the three masters, Yi Qing Luo did not have any complaints. After all, Devil class was an outsider class. Class of gods was specially selected by them and nurtured till today. Their feelings were naturally different. It was natural for them to help the class of gods. Previously she used Ghost Doctor's name to get close to Master E. It was because she wanted to have a good training and not let any other messy things happen that would affect her mood and the special training. For example, what had happened now? But she didn't expect that when she mentioned Ghost Doctor, it would implicate even more things. Today, if it wasn't for Ghost Doctor's personal appearance, she would probably be annoyed to death. What's more, she might have to use Ghost Doctor's name to cheat behind the back of that scheming bitch. In order to ensure that the next month's special training would be peaceful, they would leave after it ended. Yi Qing Luo expressed that all the germination must be nipped off today. Master E placed his hand on Ghost Doctor's shoulder. "Old man Ghost Doctor, let's go and let this group of students think it through themselves. Let's go have a drink." Ghost Doctor slapped his hand away without giving him any face. His malicious eyes swept coldly across Master E. Old E, from what you said earlier, it seems like you had already assumed that my disciple was lying to you? Master E felt a chill down his spine as beads of sweat started to form on his forehead. Ghost Doctor, this is not right of you. After all, this is the class of gods. If a student comes and says that she is your disciple and I believe it, wouldn't the class of gods be in a mess? Ghost Doctor's lips twitched eerily. My disciple's temperament, this innate talent, she completely said that she is my disciple. How is that not like my disciple? You can't even tell, and you have the cheek to say that you are my close friend for many years? Master E expressed that he was deliberately making things difficult for her. Although Yi Qing Luo's aura and innate talent were indeed eye-catching. But it didn't mean that he could tell that she was Ghost Doctor's disciple. Master E knew that Ghost Doctor's words were to help his disciple vent her anger. He had indeed misunderstood that Yi Qing Luo was the kind of young lady who used Ghost Doctor's reputation to cheat others. This was the truth, and there was no way to explain it. He had yet to think of an excuse. A rough and loud male voice rang out, "Yes. How can you still have the face to say that you are close friends with that damn old man? He even said that our little girl used extreme methods to gain a foothold in the class of gods? How dare you make such a guess?" This voice caused everyone to tremble. The group of people looked in the direction of the sound. Then, he saw an old man dressed in a white robe rushing over like the wind. The old man was different from the Ghost Doctor's meticulousness. He had dry hair that seemed to be combed neatly but was actually a mess. His white robe hung loosely on his body, and his expression was ferocious like a crazy old man. He rushed to Yi Qing Luo's side and stretched out his hand to hug her. Yi Qing Luo almost couldn't breathe. Teacher Shin Qing looked at the person in shock and stammered, Sir Guiyu, my lord?" The students sucked in a breath of cold air. What kind of person could make Teacher Shin Qing, who had always been lazy and did not care about anything, to be so respectful and even be called Lord? When they heard the two words, Guiyu, the other two teachers' expressions changed immediately. Sir Guiyu. Chapter 2247. Master Guiyu, why are you here? Master E swallowed his saliva as he looked at Guiyu and Yi Qing Luo in disbelief. They had heard of it before. Guiyu was eyeing Ghost Doctor's disciple. Today they saw this scene. They deeply understood that those words were not fake. Guiyu valued Yi Qing Luo very much. What magic did this young lady called Yi Qing Luo have? She actually made Ghost Doctor and Guiyu, these two old men who would never fancy anyone and wanted to take anyone as their disciple, to protect her so passionately. Of course, the three masters didn't deny it. Yi Qing Luo's current performance was indeed outstanding. Even more outstanding than the students in the class of gods that they had painstakingly taught. But, at this level, Ghost Doctor and Guiyu shouldn't be so protective of her, right? Moreover, the Ghost Doctor and the Ghost Doctor, these two seniors, were present. It was natural for Yi Qing Luo to be so outstanding. Guiyu snorted as he glanced at the three masters with a cold smile. He could tell what they were thinking at one glance. He smiled coldly as his shriveled lips twitched. "I heard that my last Luo suffered a grievance when she came to the class of gods for special training. If I didn't come, wouldn't my last Luo die of grievance?" Master E and Fat Master broke out in cold sweat. The students in the class of gods also straightened their back. Yi Qing Luo wanted to raise her hand several times, weakly expressing that even if they didn't come, she wouldn't let herself suffer. But seeing old man Guiyu's protective look, Yi Qing Luo smiled warmly. Right now, she was no longer alone. She had someone who would protect her. She wasn't fighting alone. "I heard that this student feels that last Luo is using my reputation to stay in the class of gods?" Ghost Doctor's malicious gaze swept towards Yenyu. Yenyu, who was sprawled on the ground, felt as though she had been targeted by a venomous snake. She shivered and didn't dare to say a word. Seeing this, Mr. E hurriedly explained, Please don't be angry, sirs. This is a misunderstanding. As you know, the students of the other classes have always yearned for the class of gods. They've been thinking of ways to squeeze into it. Our last Luo is in the devil class, not any other class. Old man Guiyu did not have much patience. If Luo wanted to enter the class of gods, she would have been qualified to do so not long after she entered the academy. The students of the class of gods were shocked. He had just been admitted to the hospital, and he already had the qualifications? How was this possible? Even if old man you wanted to stand up for Yiqing Luo, there was no need to use such a method, right? He had boasted too much. It was obvious that he was bragging. One had to know that students like them had all been selected through layers of selection. Their aptitudes and talents were outstanding, and they were above average people in every aspect. It had taken them almost 2 years to successfully enter the class of God. The ghost doctor's cold gaze swept over them. Her voice was cold, but powerful. Whether or not the lass really has the qualifications to enter the class of gods, I'm sure the 3 elders can go to the elders department, or you can ask the faculty council's president. You'll know. Lass Luo refused to enter the class of gods because of her brothers and the group of children in the class of devils. But I feel that Luo Yu was right to reject me back then. If Luo Yu was allowed to grow up in this kind of atmosphere, how could our last Luo have such a metamorphosis now? Old man Guiyu had never thought of giving others face when he spoke. Master Yi was too ashamed to show his face, but there was nothing he could refute. They all knew. Chapter 2248. If he wanted to end this situation, he could only start from Yiqing Luo. Teacher Yi turned his gaze to Yiqing Luo and chuckled. Student Yiqing Luo, I am also responsible for the misunderstanding. The students from the class of gods were rude to the devil class, and I can't get away from it. All these are my fault. I assure you that there will not be a next time. His attitude was very sincere and sincere. It wasn't that he was trying to protect the students and push all the blame onto himself. He had indeed realized that as a teacher, he had not taught his students well, and under the circumstances where there was no evidence, he had accused the foreign students of cheating. Yiqing Luo actually admired Teacher Yi's way of doing things. Even if Teacher Yi wanted to protect the students from the class of gods, it was reasonable. The students from the class of gods to Teacher Yi was equivalent to her to Ghost Doctor and Guiyu. It was human nature to protect one's shortcomings. Of course, Yiqing Luo understood that it was human nature, but it didn't mean that she would let this matter rest just because of Teacher Yi's plea. She had said that in order to have a good and quiet training in the class of gods for the next 1 month, she had to nip off all the sprouts that had yet to grow. Kill the chicken to warn the monkey. Today she would be more arrogant and troublesome. It would be much easier in the future. Teacher Yi, from your point of view, it's normal for you to suspect my identity and motive. Yiqing Luo smiled sweetly. Her eyes were sparkling and filled with tranquil ripples. Under the calm gaze of that pair of eyes, Teacher Yi felt cold sweat trickling down his back for no reason. Yiqing Luo continued to smile. But how can you be 100% sure that they will not target the devil class? Saying that, Yiqing Luo pointed towards the direction of the students from the class of gods. Because of the arrival of Guiyu and Ghost Doctor, the students who had originally wanted to give up in the training forest rushed over with the help of their classmate. Yiqing Luo's finger pointed at the entire class of gods, 16 students. Teacher Yi was stunned. The other 2 teachers were also slightly stunned and immediately looked away, unable to be sure. The students from the class of gods were taught by them. The teachers naturally understood their temperament. If it was really because of Guiyu and the Ghost Doctor that these students would not go against the devil class, this was absolutely impossible. Where I can see it, they can make sure. But they couldn't guarantee that these students wouldn't secretly take revenge on the devil class. They understood the arrogance of the class of gods. Yiqing Luo's eyes curved into a smile. Teacher, I don't have any intention to make things difficult for you. I just simply hope that our devil class's special training is just a special training, without any other factors. Not only will it affect the progress of our special training, it will also affect the class of God, isn't it? Teacher Yi was rendered speechless by his words. He wiped off the sweat on his forehead. What student Yi Qing Luo said is right, the students in the class of gods also think so. Special training is special training, this is the ladder to raise one's own ability. Disrupting the special training is also disrupting themselves. Teacher Yi's words were a clear attempt to reason with the students of the class of gods. The students of the class of gods were all very perceptive, and immediately replied in unison, "We promise we will coexist peacefully with the devil class." Chapter 2249. Immediately, a student echoed, that's right, student Yi Qing Luo, we are very clear on how important the special training is to us. We admit that although we aren't particularly passionate about the devil class, we don't have any intention to purposely target you. There were also a few students from the class of God who wanted to say, before the ghost doctor and Guiyu appeared. They didn't put the devil class in their eyes at all and were totally disdainful, so they purposely played with the devil class. After that, he followed Yen Yu's words and condemned the devil class. They were merely misled by someone with ulterior motives. Yi Qing Luo didn't make things difficult for those students. She had no interest in taking advantage of her position to bully others. She only wanted to bully the weak. Yi Qing Luo went along with those students' evasive words as she gave a long "oh" and intentionally dragged out the ending sound. That "oh" shocked everyone and gave them goosebumps. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as she gave an indifferent smile. As what all the students have said, then. I'm even more curious, why is student Yen Yu so dissatisfied with me? Everyone turned to look at Yen Yu in unison. Yen Yu only felt that everyone's gaze was like a burning fire, burning her whole body. She stared furiously at Yi Qing Luo. It was all because of Yi Qing Luo. It's all because of this slut. He had caused her to experience such a predicament. In the class of gods, she might not be the most outstanding student. Nevertheless, he was Teacher Yi's favorite student. Moreover, her beauty made her even more popular among the people. How could she become so embarrassing? It was all Yi Qing Luo's fault. The more he thought, the more Yen Yu's hatred towards Yi Qing Luo grew. This was hatred. Even the onlookers who were standing at the side could see it clearly. The ghost doctor and old man Yu snorted coldly. If it wasn't for Yi Qing Luo holding them back, the both of them would have rushed up and slapped that scum who dared to glare at their Luo lass to death. Teacher Yi's forehead was drenched in cold sweat. Yen Yu's talent was great, and she was also smart. He had always thought highly of this student. Who would have thought that he would become so stupid today? In front of Ghost Doctor and Guiyu, he still dared to show such an expression towards Yi Qing Luo? Yen Yu. Teacher Yi gritted his teeth and shouted out Yen Yu's name. Answer me properly. Previously, did you know student Yi Qing Luo? That roar caused Yen Yu to suddenly return to his senses. She pursed her pale lips and shook her head. I don't know him. Then why have you repeatedly targeted Yi Qing Luo? Teacher Yi's brows knitted tightly. Yen Yu clenched her fists, but loosened them weakly. I didn't target. Bullshit. Old man Guiyu spat. Just from the way you look at our Luo girl, I want to slap you to death. Do you think I'm blind? Not targeted yet? If you don't tell me the truth, I'll kill you right now. Yen Yu was so scared that he started trembling. Her eyes reddened and tears welled up in her eyes. However, her pitiful appearance did not arouse anyone's sympathy or pity. Yen Yu, just get straight to the point. What kind of grudge do you and student Yi Qing Luo have? Don't hold up all the students because of your own matters. Exactly. We've run for 50 kilometers and now we just want to rest, all right? Just because of your jealousy, you have to drag the entire class to stand here with you. We're not blind, we can all tell that you and student Yi Qing Luo have a huge grudge. I'm also curious, is it really because you're jealous that student Yiqing Luo is prettier than you, so you've been targeting her? Chapter 2250. Class of God students couldn't help but tried to persuade her. They had been running for an entire afternoon and were tired, thirsty, and hungry. They couldn't wait to return to their own rooms to rest. But because of Yen Yu's problem, they were stuck at the training ground. The grumbles and complaints in their hearts were dragged on. Anyone with a discerning eye could see it. Yiqing Luo didn't even bother about being slandered. She only wanted to know the truth. She wanted to know why Yen Yu was targeting her. Yen Yu still didn't say anything, pretending to be pitiful. The more they looked, the more anxious they got. Yen Yu bit her lower lip hard. Blood seeped out from her pale lips. She didn't seem to notice it. Why did all the students come to condemn her? It was obviously Yiqing Luo's fault. It was obviously Yiqing Luo who was creating trouble out of nothing. Why were they still blaming her? Was it because that slut had great abilities and had two big backers? She was not convinced. Student Yen Yu is unwilling to answer. Why not let me guess? Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she slowly walked towards Yen Yu. Yiqing Luo's steps were elegant and imposing. Yen Yu was so shocked that her body trembled even more violently. Yiqing Luo stared at her trembling petite body as she tilted her head and smiled. Student Yen Yu, are you feeling guilty? I haven't done anything and you're so afraid? Yen Yu bit her lips and didn't refute. May I ask the students in Class of God, how is student Yen Yu and that student Zi Qianshan's relationship? Yiqing Luo didn't beat around the bush and directly asked a question. When the three words, Zi Qianshan, came out from Yiqing Luo's mouth, Yen Yu's eyes flickered a few times. The expression on her face was slightly shocked. The other students couldn't wait to end this so naturally they didn't hide anything. Yen Yu is Zi Qianshan's cousin and the two sisters have a very good relationship. They usually love to stick together and Yen Yu loves Zi Qianshan very much. Student Zi Qianshan loves to go to the lower class, I heard. She's also known as the #1 beauty in Heavenly Academy, Fairy Qianshan? Right. I remember she even joined a mercenary group. I heard this time, it seems to be Yen Yu's idea for Zi Qianshan to take part in the Heavenly Academy's annual interclass competition. The students were all talking at once. At this point, they seemed to have realized something, and their jaws dropped in shock. Right, the interclass competition. Could it be that Yiqing Luo had ruthlessly abused Zi Qianshan in the interclass competition? Zi Qianshan had yet to return to the class of gods. So, Yen Yu was helping Zi Qianshan vent her anger? Yiqing Luo heard the answer she wanted to know from those noisy and messy voices, as she nodded her head in understanding. Student Yen Yu is really a good sister. Yen Yu's face turned pale. She curled her fingers and lowered her head. Her messy hair covered her face. It also covered up the hatred on her face. If it's because of Zi Qianshan, I think I should explain. Yiqing Luo looked at Yen Yu smilingly. But, student Yen Yu's love for your own sister is so deep, I don't know if you can take it, what I'm going to say next. Yen Yu suddenly raised his head. Chapter 2251. She died because of me? Yiqing Luo was amused as she repeated this sentence. How Zi Qianshan died, the entire Heavenly Academy's students know it clearly. Your master must have received the news too. Yen Yu looked at her casual smile and the anger in his eyes burned even more. Yes, Qianshan wasn't killed by you, but you caused her death. If it wasn't for you, Qianshan wouldn't have died. Yen Yu's hoarse voice made Yiqing Luo laugh. She finally understood why Yen Yu hated her. So it was to stand up for his cousin's sister. And the other students in the class of God had a change of expression when they heard these words. Zi Qianshan is dead? Isn't she doing well in the school? How could she be dead? Yen Yu was killed by Yiqing Luo? What's going on? The surroundings were bustling with discussion about Zi Qianshan's death. Hearing the news of Zi Qianshan's death from the crowd, Yen Yu's facial features turned more and more sinister. Silence. Seeing this, Teacher E immediately roared coldly, "What are you guys making a ruckus for?" The students quietened down. Teacher E took a look at Yen Yu and sighed. "Yen Yu, I already know about Chanchan's death." Yen Yu's scarlet eyes stared at Teacher E. "You also want to say that this is Chanchan's fault?" This was the first time Teacher E saw Yen Yu disregarding his image. He frowned slightly and turned his gaze to Yiqing Luo. They indeed knew about Zi Chanchan's death, but they had not expected that the female hero who exposed Zi Chanchan's collaboration with the dark forces and saved the students of the various academies was actually this 15-year-old young lady. Zi Chanchan and Yen Yu's relationship was very close. As teachers, they could see it clearly. He expressed his understanding for Yen Yu to lose control. But Teacher E sighed again. Although Chanchan's death is related to Yiqing Luo, but it is true that she deserved to die and no one can be blamed for it. He paused and his face turned solemn. "If it was me, I would make the same decision as Yiqing Luo." "That's a student you taught yourself," Yen Yu roared. "It's precisely because she's my student that I can't let her go down the wrong path. Since you're wrong, you should be punished." Teacher E knitted his brows tightly. Looking at Yen Yu's obviously insane appearance, he sternly stopped her from roaring and retorting. "Yen Yu, you're a smart student and you should be able to differentiate between right and wrong. If you insist on blaming Zi Chanchan's mistake and implicate Yiqing Luo, then I can only send you to High Profound Class 2. Yen Yu's face was pale as he knelt on the ground in a daze. Send him to High Profound Class 2? The meaning was, kick her out of the class of gods? She wasn't wrong, she just wanted to seek justice for her sister. Qian Qian was killed by Yiqing Luo. Why was she the one to be punished in the end? For Yiqing Luo, Teacher E actually wanted to chase her out of the class of gods? That bitch. Yen Yu. Seeing the growing hatred in Yen Yu's eyes, Teacher E was exasperated. Did she really want to go to High Profound Class 2? Even now, he still couldn't figure out the problem? Chapter 2252. Teacher Yi's body stiffened slightly. "This, Lord Guiyu, it's not that Yen Yu didn't realize her mistake, but she cared too much about Zi Chanchan. I have eyes. I'm not a fool either." Old man Guiyu sneered. "Old E, don't say that I didn't give you face. It's your student who didn't care about face." "I know." Teacher E was also very anxious, but Yen Yu's heart was clouded by hatred at this time. The ghost doctor, who had been silent and emitting an icy aura, glanced at Yen Yu with a sinister gaze, before shifting his gaze away. He moved his lips, his voice cold and dignified. "Zi Chanchan. This student called Yen Yu is targeting little Luo because of Zi Chanchan, that traitor of the Nirvana realm?" Perhaps the ghost doctor's voice was too cold. Perhaps Zi Chanchan's name had stimulated Yen Yu. Yen Yu's crazed and ferocious face suddenly froze for a moment. She widened her eyes and looked at the ghost doctor. You're spouting nonsense, Yen Yu." Teacher E threw a slap across the air. Yen Yu felt a burning pain on her cheek. Her entire body was thrown back a few steps by the impact of the Xian Qi. Her cheeks were swollen and blood dripped from the corner of her mouth. From this, it could be seen how much strength was used in that slap. Yen Yu's hands trembled as she touched her cheeks. Her eyes were filled with disbelief as she fixed her gaze on Teacher E. Teacher E clenched the hand he used to slap her, gritting his teeth in warning. However, Yen Yu could not see the guilt and pain in Teacher Yi's eyes. In her eyes, Yen Yu only felt that Teacher E had slapped himself because of Yiqing Luo. Everything was that slut Yiqing Luo's fault. Yiqing Luo, that vixen, had seduced Teacher E, who had always doted on her. Teacher E was stunned by Yen Yu's hateful gaze. He slapped her. It was to stop her from being rude to the ghost doctor. If he allowed her to insult the ghost doctor, what awaited her wasn't just a simple slap on the face. However, Yen Yu didn't understand. Teacher Yi's heart sank. He thought that his student, who he thought to be exceptionally intelligent, was actually so stupid. It was really their teacher's failure. As a result, the students didn't even understand the simple principles of being human. What did the ghost doctor just say? Nirvana Realm's traitor? Zi Qianqian? What's going on? Zi Qianqian is a traitor of the Nirvana Realm? I think I've heard something incredible. What's going on? Why did Yen Yu say that Zi Qianqian was killed by Yiqing Luo? But the ghost doctor said that Zi Qianqian is a traitor of the Nirvana Realm? The attention of the students of the class of gods was drawn to the ghost doctor's words. As for Zi Qianqian, the students of the class of gods didn't have any special feelings for her. The only feeling he had was that he had approached Zi Qianqian in order to build a relationship with Yen Yu. Because Zi Qianqian was not considered a top student in the class of gods. In every test of the class of gods, he was always ranked at the bottom. Moreover, Zi Qianqian liked to run around the lower classes. Now that they heard the news of Zi Qianqian's death, they didn't have any special feelings. The only feeling they had was shock. The ghost doctor's voice was cold. Yes, Zi Qianqian colluded with the dark forces and attempted to kill all the elite students of the various academies in the Nirvana Realm. Dark forces? Chapter 2253. Although they weren't very interested in anything outside of the class of gods. However, he more or less knew about the news that the Western continent had almost been destroyed some time ago. The West continent had been annexed by the Dark Forces and the Three Springs sect in an attempt to invade the West continent. Zi Qianqian actually colluded with the Dark Forces? Could it be that Zi Qianqian also wanted to invade the Western continent? Although they were going to ascend to the upper realm in the future. However, they were the only ones who ascended to the immortal realm. Nirvana Realm, West Continent, was still their home. Their loved ones were here. Yen Yu looked at the ghost doctor in horror, as though he had not expected that the ghost doctor who had always hated trouble would actually speak up for Yiqing Luo, clarifying that she had not caused Zi Qianqian's death. Yen Yu knew that the students of the class of gods didn't know much about the outside world. So he was thinking that while Yiqing Luo was still in the class of gods, he would slowly make everyone think that it was Yiqing Luo who was jealous of Zi Qianqian and caused his death. This way, she would be able to avenge Zi Qianqian openly. He did not expect that the ghost doctor would reveal the cause of Zi Qianqian's death. Who was the ghost doctor? Even the headmaster, whom they respected him so much. His words were extremely authoritative. Who wouldn't believe it? Because of Zi Qianqian, she killed a total of 52 students from the Wind Vein Academy. The ghost doctor enunciated each and every word extremely clearly. Because of Zi Qianqian, all the students of the academy almost died in the blaze nest. After that, the Luo girl captured Zi Qianqian and handed him over to the headquarters for punishment. The faces of the students of the class of gods paled. The ghost doctor's cold gaze swept towards Yen Yu. Student Yen Yu, do you think that last Luo was wrong to hand over Zi Qianqian, that traitor, that murderer, to the general hospital? Yen Yu's body trembled. The students of the class of gods were speechless. If it was them, they would also hand Zi Qianqian over to the headquarters. It wasn't like they hadn't killed anyone before. But 52 lives were taken, and they were the lives of students from other academies. Zi Qianqian was actually so ruthless. It was only natural for the General Institute to execute Zi Qianqian. This indeed couldn't be blamed on Yiqing Luo. You are. Yen Yu still wanted to struggle. The ghost doctor had already interrupted Yen Yu's words with a cold sneer. If you don't believe me, you can go back to your clan and ask your relatives. I'm sure they'll tell you in more detail. Yen Yu's body slumped to the ground. Zi Qianqian clearly deserved to die. As students of the class of gods, how dare you collude with other factions to kill students from other schools? Isn't this just bringing shame to our class? Yen Yu, what face do you have to blame Zi Qianshan's death on Yiqing Luo? 52 lives. He even wanted to kill all the university students from all the schools. Even if she dies, she won't be able to repay those 52 lives. The students of the class of gods began to berate Yen Yu. Even Yi Luo did not have the face to speak for Yen Yu. It could be said that ever since the ghost doctor and Guei Yu appeared, Yen Yu no longer had the slightest advantage. On the training ground, the momentum was already one-sided. Teacher Yi bore with the pain as he shut his eyes. Yen Yu has disobeyed his superiors and has slandered the new devil class several times. Deduct 2 months of resources and lock him up in the confinement room for a month, then send him to High Profound Class 2. The students of the class of gods were all stunned. The berating voices stopped abruptly. Chapter 2254. This punishment. Wasn't it a little too harsh? One must know that the students who were chased out of class of God, no matter how outstanding their innate talents were, once they went to the lower class they would be ridiculed by all the students. But on second thoughts, Yen Yu couldn't figure out the situation. For Zi Qianshan, he found trouble with Yiqing Luo. If this matter was spread out, it would only make people link Zi Qianshan and the class of gods together. By then, the divine image which the class of gods had painstakingly built up would be destroyed in one day. They must not let Yen Yu affect the reputation of their class of gods. Immediately, those shocked students restrained their expressions and no one spoke up to plead for Yen Yu. Yi Luo's expression froze in the crowd. If Yen Yu left class of gods, what would happen to her? She had always been Yen Yu's follower. She had suffered so much injustice. How could she just watch as Yen Yu left? Teacher Yi Luo bit her lower lip, trying to plead for Yen Yu. But she heard old man Guei Yu's rough voice from the side. Just let her go to High Profound Class 2? What kind of punishment is this? Old Yi, do you really think I'm easy to fool just because I haven't been in charge for so many years? Teacher Yi hurriedly explained, Master Guei Yu, I'm not. You're not? Yen Yu kept saying that she wanted to seek revenge for that traitor Zi Qianshan. I have the right to suspect that Yen Yu had long known that Zi Qianshan was colluding with the dark forces? Otherwise, why did she feel that Zi Qianshan colluded with the dark forces? Was a very normal thing? Old man Guei Yu rudely interrupted Teacher Yi's words. Following that, he stared fiercely at Yen Yu. Furthermore, I feel that this Yen Yu is also part of the dark forces. Old man Guei Yu's voice was very loud and rough. The moment he roared, the entire sky above the training ground reverberated with old man Guei Yu's voice. The students of class of gods were first stunned by old man Guei Yu's domineering manner. Following that, they looked at Yen Yu in horror. They all took a step back in unison, afraid that Yen Yu's matter would implicate them. How would Yi Luo dare to continue pleading for Yen Yu? If she continued to plead, she might be labeled as an accomplice of the dark forces. Yen Yu was also frightened out of his wits by old man Guei Yu's words. He immediately hugged his head and shook his head while crying, I didn't. I'm not. I'm not from the underground forces. I don't know. I didn't. Teacher Yi also felt a chill down his spine. Master Guei Yu, this can't be. Yen Yu rarely leaves the class of God. How? It doesn't matter if it's possible or not. I think we should arrest Yen Yu first and send him to the headquarters for investigation. Old man Guei Yu said impatiently. Send him to the general hospital for investigation? Not only would he be kicked out of the class of gods, he would be severely punished. Once he was sent to the headquarters, he would be investigated to see if he was related to the underworld forces. Yen Yu's reputation wasn't the only thing affected, and House Yan's reputation. In the end, they found out that Yen Yu had nothing to do with the underground forces. However, this black mark would follow Yen Yu and House Yan for the rest of their lives. Old man Guei Yu was obviously going to destroy Yen Yu. The students of the class of gods couldn't help but secretly sigh in relief. He could offend anyone but not Yiqing Luo. Fortunately, they didn't target Yi Qing Luo because they didn't want to deal with the lower class. Otherwise, they would be the unlucky ones now. Chapter 2255. Teacher Yi's body stiffened. He forced a smile and said, "Lord Guiyu is right, I have no objections." Yan Yu looked at Teacher Yi in disbelief. He had actually really given up on her? He was actually not pleading for her anymore? Sending her to the general hospital was the same as destroying her life. Since there are no objections, then it's decided. Old man Guiyu waved his hand and a hemp rope flew out from his sleeve. The hemp rope coiled around Yan Yu's body like a snake. Yan Yu was tightly bound by the hemp rope. Yan Yu cried out in pain. His limbs were bound by the hemp rope, and he fell to the ground uncontrollably. Her face contorted in disgust. There was also an extremely pungent smell coming from the hemp rope. "Master Guiyu, where did you get the rope? You even brought along a hemp rope?" Yi Qing Luo looked at Yan Yu's expression and knew how strong the smell of that hemp rope was. She purposely asked Old Man Guiyu. Old Man Guiyu did not think much of it. "I came in a hurry and could only pull a rope from the horse dung to rush over. Whoever bullied you, I will use the horse dung rope to whip him to death." Yi Qing Luo burst out laughing. No wonder he was Guiyu. Take hemp rope out of horse dung. He could even think of such a method. The faces of the students from the class of gods darkened when they heard that it was hemp rope in horse dung. Another female student clutched her chest and ran to the side to vomit. Yan Yu's expression turned even uglier. She kept retching, and her body kept struggling, trying to break free from this disgusting hemp rope. But how could she easily untie the hemp rope tied by Old Man Guiyu? "Sirs, I will personally escort student Yan Yu to the dean, and the dean will send someone to escort student Yan Yu to the headquarters." Teacher Shen Qing, who had been silent all this while, spoke up. At this moment, he no longer had his usual lazy expression on his face. Shen Qing slowly walked to Yan Yu's side. Today, the students carried weights for 50 kilometers. They must be tired. Go back and rest. The students of the class of gods subconsciously looked at the ghost doctor and Guiyu. Seeing that none of them spoke, only then did he say tentatively, "Then we'll go back first." Shen Qing nodded. The ghost doctor and Old Man Guiyu still did not speak. Only then did the students carefully prepare to leave. At this moment, a clear and melodious voice came from the entrance of the training ground. "What's going on? How could a physical training cause such a big commotion?" The students of the class of gods bowed respectfully. "Teacher Bai. And a headmaster?" Yi Qing Luo looked towards the direction of the voice. He saw a charming beauty walking over gracefully. The headmaster's robes on the woman had been modified to accentuate her figure. The places that should be protruding were protruding, the places that should be thin were thin, and the places that should be perky were perky. "Bai Mei, why are you here?" Shen Qing frowned slightly. She had finally found a chance to let the students leave first. Why did Bai Mei come at this time? Bai Mei raised an eyebrow. "Can't I come?" She walked over and saw the ghost doctor and Old Man Guiyu. She was surprised. "Old Man Guiyu, ghost doctor? Yo, what kind of wind blew you two here? Why didn't you tell me in advance that you were coming? Are you trying to exclude me?" The students of the class of gods were dumbfounded. Why did it seem like Teacher Bai and these two sirs had a close relationship? Yan Yu. Bai Mei noticed the tied-up Yan Yu who was sprawled on the ground. Chapter 2256. When Bai Mei heard this, she frowned and looked at Shen Qing. "What's going on?" Shen Qing shook her head. "Zi Qianqian's death has agitated her. I'll bring her to the headmasters to calm down first." "Zi Qianqian?" Bai Mei's frown deepened. She pondered for a long time before she remembered. "Are you talking about the girl who was executed by the general hospital? Didn't she die a long time ago? How did she provoke Yan Yu now?" Shen Qing lifted her eyelids and frowned at her, signaling her to shut up and stop talking. However, Old man Gui Yu could not bear to see that there was still someone who would save Yen Yu. He raised his voice and sneered. This student is certain that Zi Qianshan's death was caused by my Luo lass, and he is determined to find trouble with my Luo lass. Bai Mei seemed to have heard some big news. A shocked expression appeared on her beautiful face as she said, Your Luo-er? Old man Gui Yu, don't tell me, are you in heat? The whole place was silent. Old man Gui Yu's face turned the color of pig liver. Bai Mei. What nonsense are you spouting? Teacher Yi stepped forward and grabbed Bai Mei's wrist. Bai Mei looked puzzled. Did I guess wrong? It was old man Gui Yu himself who said something about his family. Teacher Yi tightened his grip on Bai Mei's wrist. Bai Mei fell silent. Old man Gui Yu's face was gloomy. To be able to make the hot-tempered and straightforward old man Gui Yu so depressed. Obviously, he was furious. Yi Qing Luo stood by Ghost Doctor's side as her pink lips pulled into an arc, revealing a sliver of ridicule. Her long and narrow eyes stared unblinkingly at Bai Mei's innocent face. She couldn't hold it in and laughed out loud. Did this elder Bai Mei really not know anything about this? Or was he pretending not to know? Did he say those words intentionally, or was it just a casual remark, a deliberate joke? Yi Qing Luo was leaning towards the former. After all, she was the teacher of the class of gods. Regarding what happened in the class of gods, how could she not know? Others might believe it, but she didn't. Under the silent situation, Yi Qing Luo's laughter was especially abrupt. Almost everyone's vision shifted onto Yi Qing Luo. Bai Mei's gaze fell onto Yi Qing Luo's face. This student, what are you laughing at? Nothing much, I just admire Master Bai's imagination. Yi Qing Luo smiled in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. Bai Mei didn't seem to understand Yi Qing Luo's words. Yi Qing Luo smiled lightly. Master Bai, just based on the two words my home, you can imagine that wandering ghost teacher has a lover, don't you have a big imagination? Bai Mei's expression froze. Yi Qing Luo gave an extremely gentle smile as her voice also softened a little. Teacher Bai, it's fine if you say these words in front of your own people. But as a teacher, it's not appropriate for you to say these words in front of so many teenage boys and girls. Her voice was gentle, her tone was gentle, and even her expression was gentle. However, it was obvious from her words that she was accusing Bai Mei of not being a qualified teacher. Bai Mei's face sunk. But Yi Qing Luo didn't seem to notice it. Master Gui Yu is my brother's master. A master for a day, a father for life. Master Gui Yu is naturally my family member. So in Master Gui Yu's words, I am also his family member and I am also his family member. Does Master Bai find this sentence ambiguous? Bai Mei's face was completely overcast. But old man Gui Yu was so happy that he almost jumped 3 feet in joy. His Luo girl said he was family. His Luo girl said she was his family member. His Luo girl said she was his family member. Chapter 2257. Old man Gui Yu was happy. But the ghost doctor refused to comply. He coldly glanced at old man Gui Yu and sneered. Yes, a teacher for a day, a father for life. You are only the teacher of the little girl's brother. In terms of seniority, you are 1 level lower than me. I look down on you? Didn't you hear what little Luo said? I'm her family. Old man Gui Yu was pissed. The ghost doctor laughed coldly again. But I'm her Shifu, so I'm 1 level higher than you. You. Old man Gui Yu glared at him. Speechless, old man Gui Yu hugged Yi Qing Luo's arm. Luo lass, you tell him, I am more important than him. Ghost doctor's brows creased when he saw that, but he went forward and held Yi Qing Luo's wrist. The ghost doctor didn't say anything. But looking at his stance, it was obvious that he wanted to compete with old man Gui Yu. Yi Qing Luo. What kind of timing was this, and these two could still quarrel? The surrounding students. Did they see wrongly? Why were the 2 adults so childish? Bai Mei, who had a gloomy expression on her face, was completely ignored. Staring at the young girl sandwiched between Gui Yu and Ghost Doctor, Bai Mei's expression became extremely complicated. Yen Yu, who was at the side, saw it clearly. Yen Yu secretly ridiculed Yi Qing Luo in his heart, to actually go against Master Bai Mei. Offending Master Bai Mei, even if Yi Qing Luo had Gui Yu and Gui Gui to treat her, Master Bai Mei would absolutely not show any mercy. As if noticing Yen Yu's gaze, Bai Mei suddenly turned to look at her. Coincidentally, his eyes met Yen Yu's. Okay, I said something wrong. I didn't pay attention to propriety. You two don't need to argue. It's very difficult for the little girl to be caught in the middle. Bai Mei adjusted the expression on her face and smiled to smooth things over. Old man Gui Yu saw Yi Qing Luo's lifeless look and quickly let go of her hand. The Ghost Doctor also let go. Yi Qing Luo hugged her arms as she looked at the both of them. Master Ghost Doctor, Master Gui Yu, both of you are equally important in my heart, so can you not fight for it? If you continue to fight, you will only be able to split me into two. They could not help but laugh. The scene became lively. Shun Qing took the opportunity to say, "Then I'll bring him to the dean first." Just as Shun Qing was about to lift Yen Yu up, Bai Mei suddenly said, "Wait." Shun Qing paused. Even though Yen Yu caused trouble for this student because of Zi Qianqian, he didn't have to go so far as to send him to the principal. If the other classes found out, wouldn't they think that something big had happened in our class? Shun Qing looked troubled. It's a long story. We can talk about it later. Don't disturb the student's rest. As he spoke, he picked up Yen Yu and prepared to leave. Yen Yu immediately wailed again. "I know I was wrong, I won't dare to do it again. Yi Qing Luo, I apologize to you, please don't chase me out of the class of gods. Master Bai, save me. Save me." Bai Mei looked at the struggling Yen Yu and felt a little pity for him. Following that, he turned to look at Yi Qing Luo. "This, student Yi Qing Luo, today is also your first day in the class of gods, and we will have to spend another month together. Harmony is the most important thing, why must you bully others too much?" Although Bai Mei's words sounded like she was pleading for Yen Yu, but no matter how one listened, it sounded like she was reprimanding Yi Qing Luo for taking advantage of her power to bully others. Bai Mei. The three masters immediately stopped Bai Mei. Chapter 2258. Bai Mei raised her chin slightly, almost as if she was giving orders. "Student Yi Qing Luo, although you have Old Man Gui Yu and Ghost Doctor to back you up, but Master has to give you a piece of advice. Always leave a way out so that we can meet again in the future. No matter what you do, don't be too childish and go too far." As Yi Qing Luo listened on, she couldn't help but laugh. Women were really petty. Was Bai Mei taking revenge on him for mocking her for not being a qualified teacher? Yi Qing Luo's laughter made Bai Mei's expression congealed. Yi Qing Luo held down Old Man Gui Yu, who was about to go berserk, as she smiled at Bai Mei. Master Bai's imagination is indeed strong. From the start till the end, Master Ghost Doctor and Teacher Gui Yu were using logic to convince others, but in Master Bai's mouth, it became a threat instead? She snickered. Without waiting for Bai Mei to retort, she continued, "Teacher Bai is right. In the coming month, I still have to interact with the students of the class of God, so I need to remove all obstacles that stand between me and the class of God." Bai Mei's expression turned cold. "Yi Qing Luo, are you trying to go against your superior? Then what Master Bai means is that you can use your identity as a master to insult me as you wish." Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly, neither servile nor overbearing. What a glib tongue! Bai Mei gritted her teeth, looking displeased. Yi Qing Luo sneered, "I'm just arguing for what's right." "Enough, Bai Mei." Shun Qing furrowed his brows. The matter had already passed, so why did Bai Mei want to stir up the flames of war again? "Shun Qing, don't try to persuade me." Bai Mei strode forward and arrived in front of Shun Qing. She stretched out her hand and snatched Yen Yu, who was covered in the stench of horse dung. She lowered her head to look at Yen Yu, whose face was covered in tears, and said word by word, "Today, I will protect Yen Yu. Thank you, Master Bai. Thank you, Master Bai." Yen Yu was overjoyed. Bai Mei raised her head and glanced sideways at Yi Qing Luo. "Student Yi Qing Luo, this is the class of gods. I hope that no matter what happens, everything will be settled in the class of gods." Bai Mei. Fatty teacher and teacher E growled in unison. Bai Mei's lips curled into a gorgeous smile as she glanced in the direction of Ghost Doctor and Old Man Yu. "Both of you can rest assured, I will not let your girl suffer any grievances." After a pause, her smile became even more radiant. There was also a hint of arrogance. "I've specially hired a helper to help me investigate this misunderstanding." "Helper?" The fat teacher's white eyebrows twitched. "You? Did you also invite that person?" Bai Mei raised her lips proudly, and her eyes were full of charm. "If I ask, he will naturally help." The fat master's fat body trembled. "Bai Mei, why did you? Of course, it's to let some students know that there is always someone better than you. Don't always think about bullying others." Bai Mei sneered and interrupted the fat teacher. Her expression suddenly changed, and her incomparably beautiful face instantly became extremely flirtatious. Every smile and frown was a seductive gesture. "What a coincidence, that person is already here." Bai Mei's voice was soft and seductive. "Then let's take this opportunity to let that person make a judgment on this matter." The expressions of the three masters froze. They saw Bai Mei was already jogging towards the entrance of the training ground. They immediately knelt down in that direction. This action made the students in the class of gods stunned. Very quickly, they followed their own masters and knelt down. In the entire training ground, only the devil class, Old Man Yu and Ghost Doctor were still standing. At the training ground, a tall man slowly walked into the training ground. He walked against the light, and his face was hidden in the shadows, which couldn't be seen clearly. Chapter 2259. Gradually, the man came closer. His long robe fluttered in the night wind, like rolling clouds. The moonlight poured down, as if it was plated with silver light. His black hair, which was not tied up, fluttered along with the man's footsteps. The glow of the luminous pearl shrouded that breathtakingly handsome face. A pair of peach blossom eyes that shone brighter than luminous pearls, as deep as the sea. The training ground fell into a dead silence. Everyone's eyes widened as they watched the approaching man. In a split second, even their breathing became extremely cautious. Dmo Xian, fat teacher, was the first to regain his senses, and immediately bowed to the man. Everyone else snapped back to reality, and bowed to the man in unison. "Greetings, Dmo Xian." The man stopped in front of them, expressionless. His deep black peach blossom eyes coldly swept across the group of people kneeling on the ground. Although he did not speak, however, the powerful aura emanating from his body was enough to make one's heart tremble. Everyone broke out in cold sweat. The three teachers knew that the Dmo Xian had come to the class of gods in recent days. But they thought that the Dmo Xian had not appeared. It was Bai Mei who greeted the Dmo Xian, and that one. But they never expected that Bai Mei would actually invite the Dmo Xian over. If the Dmo Xian stood on Bai Mei's side, and protected Yen Yu for her, even Ghost Doctor and Old Ghost Yu would have to give way. The three headmasters felt like dying. It was just a simple special training. How did it turn into such a situation? One by one, it was a rare sight, appearing here as if it was free. When the students of the class of gods saw Dmo Xian in person, all their fatigue, irritation, and negative emotions disappeared without a trace. In their eyes, in their hearts, there was only Dmo Xian. He was the legend of Nirvana realm, the palace lord of the imperial palace, the Dmo Xian. Bai Mei took in everyone's expressions. Her coquettish face was filled with pride. She raised her eyebrows and walked towards Dmo Xian. "Dmo Xian, I'm sorry. Before the devil class came, the atmosphere in the class of gods had always been very good." she explained to Diamotian. There was only one meaning in his words. Today's farce was all caused by the devil class. Diamotian's brows creased slightly as his deep eyes swept past the direction of the devil class. Finally, it landed on between the ghost doctor and old man Guiyu, on the beautiful girl dressed in red. No one knew if it was an illusion. Why was it so strange? It seemed that the coldness on His Majesty was gradually weakening. Bai Mei also noticed Diamotian's gaze. Her heart tightened. A woman's intuition had always been terrifyingly accurate. She bit her lips and leaned her body closer to Diamotian. Overlord, may Mayor be so bold as to hope that Overlord can uphold justice for Mayor and return peace to class of gods. Bai Mei's actions could be said to be extremely explicit. The expressions of the three teachers were immediately awkward, and their faces were stiff. However, just as Bai Mei was about to approach him, Diamotian had already turned sideways, avoiding Bai Mei's embrace. He glanced at Bai Mei indifferently, his thin lips moved slightly, and his voice was clear like a bone-piercing cold wind. Teacher Bai Mei, please conduct yourself with dignity. Bai Mei's face stiffened. Chapter 2260. Bai Mei's face darkened as she stared angrily. Class of Gods students obediently knelt on the ground as they stared at Diamotian, their eyes filled with respect. It wasn't them. Bai Mei's face darkened. That pair of flirtatious expression instantly turned sinister, filled with hostility. Her gaze fell on the 10 people standing upright not too far away. Those 10 people, ever since the appearance of the Overlord, they had been standing at the same spot, not moving an inch. Their attention wasn't on the Overlord. Instead, they were staring at her. And there were 2 female students, pointing at her, grinning from ear to ear. Obviously, those who laughed out loud were the students of Devil class. Who allowed you to laugh? You even dare to make fun of Master? Don't you know how to respect your teacher? Bai Mei clenched her fists as she rebuked sternly. Yen Xiaoyi and Dan Bai Shi looked at each other, laughing even louder. The other students of Devil class looked at the 2 students and smiled helplessly, without any intention to stop them. Bai Mei was so angry that her whole body was trembling. You students without any morals. I'm going to bring you to the director's office. I want the director to give me an explanation. Yen Xiaoyi and Dan Bai Shi not only had no fear. On the contrary, they laughed even more wildly. Even the other students couldn't help but laugh. Good all of you. Students of the Devil class, all of you want to rebel, right? Bai Mei's tender and beautiful face was somewhat sinister. The embarrassment of being rejected by Diamotian was vented on the Devil class. Bai Mei's feet moved as fast as lightning, nearing the Devil class students. Her 5 fingers were like eagle claws, mercilessly pinching Yen Xiaoyi's shoulder. Go. I'm going to bring you to the director's office. You dare to touch her? Qiao Jin's expression congealed as he bellowed in rage. Just as Bai Mei's 5 fingers were about to lock onto Yen Xiaoyi, Qiao Jin suddenly embraced Yen Xiaoyi and pulled her into his embrace. He immediately raised his palm and struck towards Bai Mei's direction. Bai Mei didn't expect the students to retaliate, so she didn't pay attention. Qiao Jin's palm landed directly on Bai Mei's chest. This palm, Qiao Jin, was only used as a deterrent and didn't use much profound energy. Bai Mei was only forced to take a few steps back from the impact. But this was no longer a matter of using a few % of profound energy or suffering some kind of injury. Students of Devil class, how dare he attack the headmaster? And in front of so many students. In front of His Majesty. Where would she put her face? The expression on Bai Mei's face grew colder and more ferocious. Her fingers curled up stiffly. Suddenly, she looked at the 3 teachers, Old E, Old Fatty, Old Shen. All of you have seen it with your own eyes. The Devil class students openly attacked teacher. Based on this alone, I have the right to order him to get out of the Heavenly Academy. The 3 headmasters' faces tightened. That was the only thing the D-Zune had said since he had appeared. They had no idea what the D-Zune was thinking. As for Old Man Gui Yu and Ghost Doctor, they didn't open their mouths, but stared straight at Yi-Ching Luo. Naturally, they did not dare to speak rashly. Bai Mei was the only one screaming hysterically in the quiet training ground. But no matter how much she roared, not a single person echoed her. Bai Mei had never been so embarrassed before, especially in front of DMO Xian. She clenched her fists tightly as she raised her hand again and grabbed towards Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi's direction. Bam! A ray of profound light shot over. Bai Mei was on her guard as she quickly retreated backwards. Chapter 2261. The red-clothed girl held a red feather fan in her hand, gently waving it. Her eyes, which were as bright as stars, stared at Bai Mei with a faint smile. The young girl's face was extremely beautiful, and she had the temperament of a fairy. She was also as gorgeous and enchanting as a rose. Obviously, she was just a little girl who was still wet behind the ears. However, compared to Bai Mei, who was still charming, she was even more bewitching. This made Bai Mei's heart thump even more clearly. Yi-Ching Luo, are you trying to stand up for them? Bai Mei gritted her teeth and asked angrily. Stand up for me? Yi-Ching Luo raised her brows slightly. Such a small matter, I don't need to stand up for you. Small matter? Bai Mei's anger surged. Yi-Ching Luo's words meant that Yi-Ching Luo totally didn't put her in her eyes? Yi-Ching Luo's lips curved upwards, revealing a sweet, amorous feeling. I just have a few words to say to Master Bai. Bai Mei knew that those words were definitely not good words. How could she possibly allow Yi-Ching Luo to humiliate her? Bai Mei took a deep breath and adjusted the expression on her face. Following that, she turned her head with an aggrieved look and looked at DMO Xian, Overlord. Look at these devil-class students. A cold word interrupted Bai Mei's affectedly coquettish voice. Bai Mei was startled. Her deliberate expression of grievance and amorous feelings froze on her face. But DMO Xian's eyes weren't looking at Bai Mei. Instead, it fell onto Yi-Ching Luo without blinking. Apparently, the word which he spat out earlier was directed at Yi-Ching Luo. Say what? Bai Mei reacted abruptly as her pupils dilated, and looked at DMO Xian in shock. Earlier Yi-Ching Luo said that she had something to say to Master Bai. DMO Xian's say meant. In other words, let Yi-Ching Luo say it? Lord D-Zune. Bai Mei's throat tightened. She had never expected that the Lord D-Zune, who had been so gentle in the past few days, would suddenly become so unreachable. She thought that she could rely on DMO Xian's power to suppress the arrogant Yi-Ching Luo. Unexpectedly, DMO Xian did not have the slightest intention to save her face. What was going on? Even if the Overlord did not like her. But he would never embarrass her like this in front of others. Yi-Ching Luo's brows rose as her charming eyes sparkled brilliantly, making eye contact with DMO Xian. She smiled sweetly. Her bright smile was like a deadly poppy flower, peerlessly beautiful. First, as a teacher, Master Bai has no self-respect for seducing a man in front of so many students. I very much question whether Master Bai has the ability to be a teacher. Secondly, White Master failed to seduce a man and was instead warned by the man to please conduct yourself. This was indeed an extremely ridiculous matter, wasn't it? Since Master Bai has shamelessly seduced the Overlord in public, then, it's only natural for my two sisters to laugh at you, isn't it? Two consecutive, isn't that so? Rhetorical questions, each one more forceful than the last. Bai Mei was so shocked that she couldn't even open her mouth to refute. Yi-Ching Luo raised her slender brows as the corners of her mouth twitched in disdain. Thirdly, Master Bai did not allow any explanation and made a move on the student. Is he trying to use his identity as a teacher to suppress the students? If so, why can't my classmates retaliate in self-defense? Could it be that in the class of God, only the teachers are allowed to abuse the students and the students can only silently accept it? No resistance? when Yi Qing Luo's words fell. Chapter 2262. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes. In that case, only Master Bai has such an idea? You. Bai Mei regained her senses, fuming with anger. Yi Qing Luo, you are talking nonsense. Yi Qing Luo snorted disdainfully. An old cow wants to eat young grass? Would the Overlord fancy you? And even try to seduce him? Where's your shame? She dragged out the last syllable. Oh, I forgot, you are already shameless, where's your shame? Yi Qing Luo. Bai Mei was so angry that her eyes turned black and her body trembled uncontrollably. An old cow eating young grass? Yi Qing Luo actually scolded her for eating young grass? Was she old? How was she old? She was obviously skilled and able to serve the Overlord better. What's more, they were cultivators of profound qi. There was no difference in age at all right. If they were to go to the upper realm, any 12 or 13-year-old child could very possibly be a senior who had been cultivating for hundreds of years. The Overlord doesn't fancy me? Don't tell me he likes you? Look at that foxy look of yours. Your eyes are glued to the Overlord. How dare you make fun of me? Bai Mei was so angry that she blurted out. Yi Qing Luo smiled instead of getting angry. She tilted her head and smiled sweetly. That's right, the Overlord doesn't like an old cow like you. He likes people like me who are pure and untainted, pure and innocent, beautiful and young little beauties. Devil class students. Qing Luo, where's your shame? Where's your shame? For the sake of His Majesty, you've even thrown away your moral integrity. Class of God students. They admitted that Yi Qing Luo was indeed beautiful, but where did she get the confidence to think that the Overlord would fancy her? Moreover, was it really good to boast about herself? The three masters were speechless. Could it be that this girl had been bewitched by the Overlord's peerless face? Bai Mei heard Yi Qing Luo's words and gave a mocking laugh. She stared at Yi Qing Luo, her eyes filled with ridicule. Yi Qing Luo, aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? Do you really think that the Overlord is such a shallow person? How dare you embarrass yourself in front of His Majesty with your looks? Who do you think you are? Really? Yi Qing Luo raised her brows as she gave an incomparably enchanting smile. Suddenly, the corners of her mouth curled up and a trace of craftiness flashed across her charming eyes. Following that, she openly walked towards Dmo Xian's direction. Bai Mei's heart couldn't help but trembled as she stared at Yi Qing Luo in shock. Yi Qing Luo. Surely she wouldn't really want to seduce the Overlord in public, right? Bai Mei wanted to stop Yi Qing Luo from getting near. But before she could act, she recalled the scene of Dmo Xian avoiding her touch. She paused to stop him. Just based on Yi Qing Luo, that tender little bean sprout, how could she arouse the Overlord's interest? She was going to take a good look at how Yi Qing Luo was rejected by the Overlord, how embarrassing she was. Yi Qing Luo's peripheral vision shot a glance at Bai Mei, who was smiling delightedly. Her lips curled up even more. Her long and narrow eyes slightly curved. She met Dmo Xian's eyes and her smile widened. Finally, he stopped. The distance between her and Dmo Xian was only the distance of one step. Overlord, I want to seduce you. Do you have a problem with that? Yi Qing Luo looked up at him. Her charming eyes reflected the man's handsome face. Everyone was taken aback. Seducing someone or what? She knew it in her heart. How could she say it directly in front of the person she wanted to seduce? Dmo Xian's eyes drooped. Sparkling ripples flashed across his peach blossom eyes. Chapter 2263. His elegant eyes met with her enchanting eyes. For eyes met and everything was silent. Both of them didn't say a word. They just looked at each other quietly. These two people were calm. But the crowd couldn't stay calm. Their hearts were about to jump out from their throat. What was with this strange atmosphere? Why didn't the Overlord say anything? Yi Qing Luo said she wanted to seduce the Overlord. Why didn't she take the next step? In this strange and heavy atmosphere, the atmosphere was very strange. The crowd only felt that half of their lives were about to be scared out of their wit. Bai Mei clenched her fingers tightly as she looked at the two of them looking at each other without saying a word. There was a warm feeling in her heart. She was so angry that her eyes turned red as she pointed at Yi Qing Luo angrily and started scolding. "Yi Qing Luo? The Overlord didn't even want to bother about you and you still don't know." The word shame had yet to come out from her mouth. Dmo Xian glanced sideways as his peripheral vision casually swept past her. Bai Mei shuddered as she felt a burst of chilly air pressing down on her. It was just a faint peripheral vision, but it revealed a bone-chilling coldness. Following that, she saw Dmo Xian's gaze was completely on Yi Qing Luo alone. His dark eyes were glistening as his thin lips curled into an evil cold arc. "You. How are you going to seduce me?" It wasn't hard to hear the joy in his voice that was as mellow as fine wine. The crowd's hearts were pounding as they looked at Yi Qing Luo in disbelief. They couldn't imagine that after Yi Qing Luo's bold and rude action, the Overlord, he wasn't angry and joked with Yi Qing Luo? How could this be possible? The most shocked was Bai Mei. Bai Mei's flirtatious face was twisted into a ball due to shock and jealousy. However, this wasn't the end. The shock she gave the crowd hadn't ended yet. The young lady who was standing in front of Dmo Xian raised her slender brows slightly after hearing Dmo Xian's words. The young lady's eyes were curved, narrow and charming. She burst out laughing. Her laughter was filled with flirtatiousness and sweetness. It wasn't a deliberate act of coquettishness. It was extremely soothing to the ears. After that, the young lady stretched out a hand and hooked it around Dmo Xian's neck. With a little force, Dmo Xian's body leaned forward. The girl tiptoed and pressed her pink lips on the man's thin lip. It was a light kiss. The young lady moved her lips away and released his neck as she looked at Dmo Xian's eyes with a smile. Such a seduction, will Overlord be able to accept it? Night. Qing. Fall. Bai Mei screamed Yi Qing Luo's name hysterically. Her entire body was shaking uncontrollably as her eyes stared deadly at Yi Qing Luo, filled with dense murderous intent. B***tch, little slut. Yi Qing Luo dared to blaspheme the Overlord. Yi Qing Luo actually dared to do such a thing to the Overlord. These few days, Dmo Xian had been staying in the God class. She racked her brains but was still unable to climb onto Dmo Xian's bed. Even if they were to take a step closer to Dmo Xian, they would be met with Dmo Xian's cold stare. But Yi Qing Luo, that little slut, she actually dared to disrespect the Overlord in front of everyone. Bai Mei was so angry that she gritted her teeth and couldn't wait to tear Yi Qing Luo into pieces. The Overlord is not someone that a slut like you can blaspheme. I'm going to kill you. Bai Mei gave a furious howl of unwillingness as her figure suddenly scuttled towards Yi Qing Luo's direction, attacking directly. The crowd then regained their senses from the shock. They saw Bai Mei actually made a move on Yi Qing Luo. Chapter 2264. However, Teacher Yi's words were still too late. However, even if it wasn't too late, Bai Mei, who was in a fit of anger, would not listen to him. There was a deafening roar. The training ground was shrouded in dense qi that looked like a spider web. That huge net directly covered the direction where Bai Mei was coming from. Bang! Bai Mei let out a blood-curdling scream as she was sent flying and fell heavily on the ground. He didn't even have time to get up. That huge net had already enveloped her within. Ah! Bai Mei's shrill scream echoed throughout the training ground. Master Bai! The students cried out in fear. The faces of the three masters froze, and they dashed toward Bai Mei. However, the three of them were unable to get close to the large net formed by profound strength. Bai Mei spat out a mouthful of blood. Her injuries were extremely severe. She propped herself up in disbelief as she looked at Dmo Xian. Lord Overlord, why did you? Besides Dmo Xian, there was no one else who could hurt her. Other than Dmo Xian, there was no one else who could create such a huge net to trap her. It was Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian had made a move on her. Bai Mei felt a dull pain in her heart. His gaze suddenly swept to the front of Dmo Xian, the young lady who was smiling like a flower. Bai Mei's brain quivered. Yi Qing Luo. It was Yi Qing Luo. The reason why Dmo Xian took action against her was because of Yi Qing Luo. Why did Dmo Xian want to help Yi Qing Luo? Could it be that Dmo Xian had really taken a fancy to Yi Qing Luo? At this thought, Bai Mei's heart was filled with intense hatred. Overlord. Fatty Master looked at the situation. It was getting more and more complicated. He looked at Dmo Xian awkwardly. Bai Mei she. Although her temper is a little hot-tempered, but Overlord's action, isn't it? Not too good? The fat teacher said meaningfully. As he spoke, he kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with his hand. He didn't want to come forward to persuade Dmo Xian. He didn't want to step out to accuse Dmo Xian. But Bai Mei was the teacher of the class of God, and she was the sister of that man. The Overlord and that lord had been good friends for many years. This was how he treated Bai Mei. Aren't you worried that the lord will be angry? Dmo Xian glanced at Fatty Master indifferently. Unfortunately, I'm very satisfied with this student's seduction, and I'm willing to let this student seduce me. Since Master Bai wants to hurt this student, I'll protect my woman. What's wrong with that? That was an understatement. It was an understatement. However, the meaning behind his words was like a clap of thunder that exploded in everyone's hearts. What did Di Zun say? He said he was satisfied with Yi Qing Luo's seduction? And he even personally admitted that Yi Qing Luo was his woman? This must be a fake venerable sovereign. The students couldn't believe what they were hearing. The three headmasters were also stunned on the spot. No matter who it was, no one would be able to believe Dmo Xian's words. Dmo Xian's words made Bai Mei, who was trapped in the net, spit out another mouthful of blood. Anger was raging in his heart. Dmo Xian he was actually seduced by Yi Qing Luo? Still said that Yi Qing Luo was his woman? Yi Qing Luo was just a little bean sprout. What qualifications did she have to seduce Dmo Xian? The Overlord must have been bewitched by Yi Qing Luo. Bai Mei's eyes were stained with poison as she stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo. Her silver teeth were almost crushed by her clenched teeth. Unexpectedly, while everyone was still in shock. Chapter 2265. The crowd sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Yi Qing Luo, wasn't this too arrogant? Did she know who the man in front of her was? Don't you know what the words Di Zun represent? She actually rejected the Overlord. And it was rejected in public. After the shock, everyone's heart was filled with fear and uneasiness. The Overlord was such a high and mighty person. To be rejected by a 15-year-old young lady in public. Would he turn angry out of humiliation, and in order to hide this matter, he would slaughter all the witnesses? It was rumored that the Overlord was bloodthirsty and cruel, extremely cold and emotionless. In order to protect his own face, there was a possibility that the Overlord would really do this. This thought caused everyone to shiver involuntarily. They were all cursing Yi Qing Luo in their hearts. They wondered, where did this woman get her confidence from, to be so arrogant and pampered here? Just because she was Ghost Doctor's disciple, the last that Guiyu was protecting? Did she know that the Overlord's status was much more respectable than Guiyu, Ghost Doctor, and the rest? The students broke out in cold sweat, and some of them started crying out of fear of death. Yi Qing Luo, you slut! The Overlord has taken a liking to you. That's your past life's good fortune. Bai Mei was stunned by Yi Qing Luo's words. Her hatred and anger towards Yi Qing Luo had reached its peak at this moment. She had racked her brains to get the Overlord. But the Overlord was captivated by that slut Yi Qing Luo. This slut dared to reject the Overlord? This was a provocation to her. Was she ridiculing her for not getting what she wanted? The more she thought, the deeper the hatred in Bai Mei's heart. The deeper it was, the deeper Bai Mei's hatred towards Yi Qing Luo grew. Yi Qing Luo naturally didn't miss Bai Mei's growing hatred. Her lips curled as she smiled sweetly. The Overlord has taken a liking to me, that means his foresight is good. Her words paused as Yiqing Luo's gaze was filled with contempt as she sized up the disheveled Bai Mei from head to toe. Following that she sneered, "Taking a liking to me is better than taking a liking to an old cow like you. Master Bai, you're half a woman and you still have the cheek to seduce the Overlord? You bitch!" Bai Mei was so angry that she coughed up blood again. No woman would be able to control their emotions when they heard a woman they hated talking about their age. Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows and smiled enchantingly. "Don't tell me Master Bai thinks I'm wrong? Let me ask all the men here, who would they choose between an old man and a young and beautiful girl?" Everyone lowered their heads, not daring to make a sound. However, many male students silently answered in their hearts. Of course he would choose a young and beautiful girl. In front of a young and beautiful girl, who would be interested in old Su? As long as it was a man, they would make the same choice. Everyone sneaked a peek at Dmo Xian. Unexpectedly, the honorable and mysterious Overlord was also a vulgar man, just like any other man. Based on his appearance, of course, everyone only dared to ridicule these words in their hearts. Bai Mei was so angry that her vision darkened and she almost fainted. Hee, a low and hoarse chuckle sounded, filled with endless magnetism. Like a feather, it gently tickled the hearts of the crowd. The whole place instantly fell silent. Their gazes turned uniformly towards Dmo Xian. The Overlord smiled? What did his smile mean? Chapter 2266. This student is right. Dmo Xian chuckled softly. Right? What's right? What Yiqing Luo said earlier was that the Overlord had taken a liking to her because he had good taste. The Overlord's right, was he responding to Yiqing Luo's words? Or the Overlord felt that Yiqing Luo's ridicule of Bai Mei as a half-woman was right? The next moment, the Overlord personally answered their doubts. This Overlord's taste has always been good. The crowd. Why did it feel that the Overlord's words were also an admission that he also felt that Bai Mei was a half-woman? Yiqing Luo nodded satisfactorily and looked at Dmo Xian in satisfaction. This is the Overlord. If the Overlord was really blind to take a liking to that kind of trash, who knows how others would ridicule him? Not only does it prove that the Overlord has good taste, it also proves that the Overlord is a real man. The crowd wanted to laugh, but most of them were afraid. Why was Yiqing Luo so daring? The words she said to the Overlord was more daring than the previous one. Did she really think that if the Overlord took a liking to her, he wouldn't kill her? After this thought passed, the crowd was slapped in the face again. Their noble Overlord really didn't look angry at all. On the contrary, his smile deepened as he looked at Yiqing Luo without blinking and asked seriously, "Classmate, what do I need to do to make you like me too?" Yiqing Luo's expression turned serious as she looked at Yiqing Luo. This must be a fake Overlord. Why would the Overlord? Why would he use such a tone to talk to a girl? He still wanted to please Yiqing Luo, to make her like him too? Yiqing Luo raised her brows. You seduce me too. Dmo Xian's thin lips curled up frivolously. His peach blossom eyes rippled with spring water. His long arms suddenly wrapped around Yiqing Luo's slender waist and locked her in his arms. He bent down and kissed her. Now, have you taken a liking to me? Dmo Xian chuckled beside her ear. Yiqing Luo touched her pink lips and nodded satisfactorily. Not bad, then I'll reluctantly take a liking to you. Class of God students looked like they had opened a dye workshop, colorful and colorful. The three masters were dumbstruck and couldn't keep up with the current development, whereas the devil class students couldn't help but burst out laughing. Damn. He was fed another mouthful of dog food in front of everyone. Every time Dizun appeared, they would be fed a mouthful of dog food. But fortunately, this time, it wasn't just the 10 of them who were choked to death by dog food. Look at the colorful faces of the class of God students. Looking at the master's shocked expression. Seeing the master's shocked expression. Ching 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 luo ching ching luos. Their overlord was really filled with love towards Ching luo. By ching tian mo ching shi. Mo lord ching mo by ching shi. Ching I lord ching was she lord. Ching and said. Ching. Looking at Dmo Xian, lowering his head and smiling as he whispered to Yi Ching luo. Bai Mei was so jealous that she wanted to break the atmosphere. Dmo Xian's cold voice rang. Since this lord and this student have taken a liking to each other, then this student's matter is also my matter. Bai Mei's heart trembled as she looked at Dmo Xian in disbelief. Chapter 2267. No, don't. Yan Yu's tightly bound body was like a limbless animal on the ground, constantly struggling and squirming. Her face was filled with terror as she looked at Dmo Xian and cried out, "Don't. I'm wrong. I was wrong. Yi Ching luo, let me off, I promise. I promise that the next time I see you, I will immediately scram." Yan Yu was very clear. If Dmo Xian had not come out, even if he was brought to the dean, she still had a chance to return to the class of gods, a chance to make a comeback. However, if the Overlord wanted to punish her, she would not be able to do so. No one in this world could save her. No one could disobey the orders of Di Zun. No, this was not an order at all. Even if it was just a casual word from His Majesty, everyone would regard it as an oracle. If she was taken away to be punished, even if he died, he would be cursed by thousands of people. They might even end up like Zi Qianqian, and even their own clans would be suppressed. She absolutely did not want to become like that. Yan Yu squirmed crazily. He didn't care about his image at all. Yan Yu wasn't the only one who knew the consequences of this matter. Everyone present was very clear about the consequences of offending Dmo Xian. Even Yi Luo, after Dmo Xian said those words, silently stood behind the class of God students. He was afraid that he would be implicated. No one spoke up for Yan Yu again. In the silent training ground, only Yan Yu's cries could be heard. Yi Ching luo squinted her eyes slightly as she leaned lazily in Dmo Xian's arms, as she disapprovingly glanced sideways at Yan Yu and smiled faintly. "Student Yan Yu, you think too highly of me. I merely wanted to ask you to cooperate with the investigation. Why do you look as though you're about to die?" She paused for a moment, and then covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Could it be that you've really colluded with the underworld forces, and that's why you're afraid of the Special Investigations Department finding out the truth?" "I didn't. I really didn't." Yan Yu cried and shook his head. "Please let me go. I really know I was wrong." Yi Ching luo's brows rose as her smile revealed a sliver of impatience. "Student Yan, you must have begged the wrong person? I have no enmity with you, so why should I let you off? Moreover, as long as you are innocent, why should you be afraid of being investigated?" Yan Yu shook her head. Her tears had already smeared the makeup on her face, making it look extremely comical. She had never had any contact with the dark forces. How could he be afraid of an investigation? What she was afraid of was Yi Ching luo using the name of investigation to completely destroy her. "This student, don't disturb this sovereign's woman." Dmo Xian saw Yi Ching luo's impatience as he shot a cold glance towards Yan Yu. His voice suddenly turned icy cold. "Still not bringing her down?" The headmaster recovered from his shock. Suppressing the shock in his heart, Teacher Yi strode forward and said, I will go now." "No. Teacher Yi, save me. Teacher Yi, save me." After Yan Yu was lifted up, he screamed hysterically. "Hold on." Yi Ching luo suddenly spoke. Trembling with fear, Teacher Yi halted his steps. He heard Yi Ching luo speaking calmly. Director had offended the High Profound Hall's Hall Master and has already been ordered by the High Profound Hall's Hall Master to reflect on the wall for 3 days, so I'm afraid there's no way to investigate this matter. Teacher Yi's expression changed slightly as his voice trembled. Then send her to the Faculty Council and let the President of the Faculty Council carry out the investigation. When Director returns from his reflection, This matter will be resolved. He paused, as though he was asking, Student Yi-Ching Luo, what do you think? Faculty Council? Chapter 2268. Faculty Council, Si Mu Yen. The president of the Faculty Council, who had some relations with a certain protector from the dark forces. Sending her to the Faculty Council was indeed a good decision. Teacher Yi heaved a sigh of relief. Afraid of being implicated by this matter, he immediately carried Yen Yu and dashed towards the entrance of the class of gods. He was really afraid of today. For a long period of time in the future, he was going to have a psychological trauma towards the physical fitness training ground. Yen Yu was still wailing. Until she was dragged away by Teacher Yi, no one spoke out to plead for her. Yen Yu's heart was crying out in frustration. Towards Yi-Ching Luo, she hated her even more. And that useless Bai Mei. If it wasn't for Bai Mei, that slut, she wouldn't have ended up in such a state. It was Bai Mei who insisted on showing off the power behind her, competing with Yi-Ching Luo on how to bully others. She even invited the Overlord over, which led to her being personally mentioned by the Overlord to spare no effort to punish her. Yen Yu apparently didn't expect this. Right from the start, she was the one who took the initiative to seek help from Bai Mei. Her heart was filled with hatred towards Yi-Ching Luo, hatred towards Bai Mei. After Yen Yu was brought away, the training ground fell into a deathly silence once again. No one dared to speak first. Diamo Xian lowered his head, his deep eyes gazed at the young lady in his arms. His elegant face, the lines were extremely gentle. Lil Luo, you must be tired today, go back and rest? Yi-Ching Luo stretched out her arms towards him. Hug me if you want. Diamo Xian smiled to satisfy her. That kind of pampering almost blinded the eyes of the surrounding students. Only Ghost Doctor and Guiyu, as well as the Devil Classes students, bore a look as though they were already used to it. Diamo Xian carried Yi-Ching Luo, walking towards the direction of the small path. Bai Mei panicked. She was still trapped in the big net as she screamed shrilly, Overlord! Overlord, you! Let me out, treating me like this, aren't you afraid that I'll complain to sister? Diamo Xian's footsteps halted. When Bai Mei saw this, her eyes lit up. Overlord, you promised sister that you'll take good care of me, for a slut. She had yet to finish her curses. Acutely sensing that the pressure on Diamo Xian's body had sunk considerably, she came back to her senses and stopped herself from blurting out the words. She changed her words. You hurt me so much just for a little girl. If my sister knew about this, she would be bitterly disappointed. Diamo Xian hugged Yi-Ching Luo as he slowly turned his head. His brows were slightly furrowed and his expression was a little cold, revealing a sharpness. His peach blossom eyes were as deep as the sea. Bai Mei's body suddenly stiffened, and her expression became extremely ugly. Gradually, she began to tremble in fear. Obviously, Diamo Xian did not utter a single word. But Bai Mei was totally unable to restrain her fear towards Diamo Xian. You said it yourself, that's your sister. How this lord treats you has nothing to do with your sister. Diamo Xian's thin lips parted slightly. The words he spat out were also extremely cold. Bai Mei trembled and did not dare to speak. Yi-Ching Luo bit her pink lips with interest and pinched Diamo Xian's face with her little hand. Overlord, one master Bai is not enough, you even brought his sister? May I ask, who is this sister? Diamo Xian lowered his head and looked at Yi-Ching Luo. His thin lips revealed a smile. Why? Are you jealous? Diamo Xian's voice just landed. Bai Mei seemed to have caught a breakthrough point as she screamed shrilly, Yi-Ching Luo, you didn't hear wrongly. My sister and Overlord's relationship is not something you can interfere with. Chapter 2269. Seeing Yi-Ching Luo's hand pinching Diamo Xian's face, not only was Diamo Xian not infuriated, his brows were filled with gentleness. But when Diamo Xian faced her, it was as if he had fallen into an icehouse. Why, on what basis did Yi-Ching Luo, that slut who only knew how to bully others, other than her pretty face, was able to gain Dmo Xian's attention. Even if she couldn't get it, she would not allow Yiqing Luo to be together with Dmo Xian happily. Which woman would not mind that the man she loved had other relationships with other women? Even if they didn't say it out loud, they would still feel a knot in their hearts. Furthermore, the relationship between the Overlord and her sister was something that the Overlord was unable to explain clearly to Yiqing Luo. The more he explained, the more Yiqing Luo would misunderstand. The minute Yiqing Luo misunderstood the Overlord, between them, can they still be happy together? No, absolutely not. It was just as Bai Mei had predicted. After she yelled those words, Yi Zichen's expression changed. Dmo Xian's expression suddenly sunk. His ruthless gaze fell on her. There seemed to be a whirlpool in his ink-black eyes. Bai Mei was so shocked that she seemed to have lost all her strength and collapsed to the ground. She was terrified. She knew that her words had infuriated Dmo Xian. But more than that, he couldn't suppress his ecstasy. Dmo Xian's expression clearly explained. Her words would definitely incite the conflict between him and Yiqing Luo. Anyway, for the sake of his sister, Dmo Xian would never kill her. At most, he would receive some punishment, as long as Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian were separated. So what if he had to suffer a little punishment? This was the first time the two of them had met and gotten to know each other. Especially for a young lady like Yiqing Luo. It was too easy to misunderstand because Dmo Xian had other relationships with other women, thus provoking Dmo Xian. Bai Mei's thoughts. How could Yiqing Luo possibly not tell? But what made Yiqing Luo surprised was Dmo Xian's expression when Bai Mei mentioned that, sister. It could be seen that Dmo Xian indeed had an unusual relationship with Bai Mei's sister. Of course, she and Dmo Xian had experienced many things, big and small. They were willing to give up their lives for each other. She would naturally believe in Dmo Xian. Looking at Dmo Xian's gloomy expression, while Yiqing Luo raised her head to look at Dmo Xian's side profile with an astonished look, Bai Mei plucked up her courage and sneered. Young lady, as someone who has been through it, let me give you a piece of advice: don't think too highly of yourself. In His Majesty's eyes, you are nothing but a toy. You will never be able to overcome the relationship between His Majesty and my sister. Bai Mei's words had several layers of meaning. Firstly, she used the words experienced to indicate that she and Dmo Xian had an unusual relationship. She was provoking Yiqing Luo and using her own sister to infuriate her. However, after Yiqing Luo heard Bai Mei's hysterical sneer, there was not the slightest bit of emotion on her face. Her tone was so calm that it was almost impossible to tell what she was feeling. Oh! Bai Mei was startled. Everyone was taken aback. What does "oh" mean? Did she not understand the meaning behind Bai Mei's words? Or Yiqing Luo didn't like Dmo Xian. In order to provoke Bai Mei, she intentionally seduced Dmo Xian. So, Yiqing Luo didn't care what relationship Dmo Xian and Bai Mei's sister had? But, even if she didn't like him now, it didn't mean that she wouldn't like him in the future. This was the Overlord. Chapter 2270. Bai Mei's venomous gaze almost swallowed Yiqing Luo. She was just a 15-year-old girl. Why was her heart so strong? No matter how she tried to provoke her, she couldn't arouse Yiqing Luo's emotions. Looking at Yiqing Luo's indifferent face, leaning lazily in Dmo Xian's arms, one of her fingers hooked a lock of Dmo Xian's hair, twining it in her hand. Yiqing Luo also deliberately tugged his hair from time to time. However, Dmo Xian didn't show any signs of anger. Instead, he looked at Yiqing Luo with doting eyes. Even if Yiqing Luo sometimes used a little too much strength and pulled Dmo Xian's scalp, Dmo Xian still had a doting smile on his lips, allowing the girl to do whatever she wanted to him. His heart was about to go crazy with jealousy. His anger was surging. He couldn't wait to rush out and pull the two apart. Yiqing Luo casually met Bai Mei's gaze. Her hands suddenly hooked around Demo Xian's neck. Her smile was full of obvious provocation and ridicule. Master Bai, do you think I will treat your sister as a competitor? Bai Mei's throat tightened. Her anger was monstrous, but she couldn't explode. Yiqing Luo continued to smile. But, Master Bai, you are already so old, your sister is older than you. I also said, my Xian only likes young and beautiful girls like me. You and your sister don't have this chance. Yiqing Luo's voice was sweet and melodious. Her tone was extremely calm, extremely careless. But what she said almost made Bai Mei vomit blood. Just because you are young, you want to seduce the Overlord. You trash. At most one day, the Overlord will be tired of you. What are you so proud of? Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows and looked at her smilingly. Yes, I am just relying on my young age. You can't win even if you want to. She paused and looked up, her eyes curved as she gazed at the elegant face in front of her. As for when the Overlord will be tired of me, it is not up to you to decide. She blinked her eyes and smiled extremely brightly. Xian, you say? When will you be tired of me? Not waiting for Demo Xian to answer, Bai Mei roared angrily, You? Who gave you permission to call the Overlord's name so intimately? Even she, even her sister couldn't call the sovereign by his name. Yiqing Luo was just a slut. What right did she have to call Demo Xian's name so intimately? A slut will always be a slut. Yiqing Luo still had a beaming smile on her face as she hooked her arms around Demo Xian's neck and acted coquettishly. Xian, you just say it, when will you get tired of me? She had purposely used that voice of hers. She repeatedly shouted, Xian. After she finished shouting, Yiqing Luo felt goosebumps all over her body. The group of students from Devil class all shuddered. Damn it, that Qing Luo earlier was simply too scary. Bai Mei's face was so twisted that her original facial features could no longer be seen. She looked like an evil ghost from hell, extremely terrifying. Following that, a voice that was as clear as water yet had traces of warmth resounded in this strange atmosphere. I won't get tired of you for the rest of my life. That voice was like waves of water ripples, dizzying the air, piercing through everyone's eardrums and right into their hearts. Everyone was shocked. This sentence was said by the Overlord. The Overlord was replying to Yiqing Luo's words. He said that he would never get tired of Yiqing Luo for the rest of his life. This was considered as a confession in front of everyone? The Overlord was really. Chapter 2271. Devil Class's Students. Damn it, they were stuffed with a mouthful of dog food in public again. Could they still play happily? Class of God's Students. Damn it, what kind of luck did this female student from the lower class have? Why was her luck so good? First it was Ghost Doctor, then it was Gui Yu, and now there was a love at first sight, the Overlord. This young lady was simply a winner in life. The students expressed their jealousy, but they didn't dare to show it out. Demo Xian's words successfully pleased Yiqing Luo. She gave a satisfied smile as she raised her hand, as though it was a reward, as she caressed Demo Xian's face. But Xian, this lifetime. I'm not satisfied. Then the next lifetime, the life after that, the lifetime after that. Demo Xian's low and hoarse voice rang, without any hesitation. Yiqing Luo nodded her head vigorously as she leaned forward and kissed his lips. Be good, this is your reward. Demo Xian's dark eyes were dull as he stared deeply at Yiqing Luo's pink lips. That expression, Yiqing Luo could tell what Demo Xian was thinking about. She laughed lightly as her charming eyes swept the surroundings. Suddenly she blinked as she leaned into Demo Xian's arms. Xian, I feel so tired. Demo Xian carried her up horizontally. Yiqing Luo's hands hooked around his neck. Her head leaned against his chest as she closed her eyes. The two's actions seemed as though they had practiced for hundreds, thousands of times. Just like that, they leaned against each other steadily. It inexplicably made one feel that he was a good match for her. His wife said she was tired. Dmo Xian, who pampered his wife like his life, couldn't be bothered about the others as he carried Yi Qing Luo and turned around to leave. He didn't care how Bai Mei was shouting and screaming behind him. Looking at the backs of the two people leaving, Devil Class's crowd covered their eyes as they heaved a sigh of relief. The two lovey-dovey people had finally left. They were about to be stuffed to death, until Dmo Xian carried Yi Qing Luo and ran far away. Gui Yu then reacted to it. F***K. I had just made my debut, and that lad actually came out to snatch my limelight. Ghost Doctor glanced at old man Gui Yu indifferently. I've found my place, I've given my backing, I'm going back. We are the real saviors who came to save Luo Yu. Why do we have to make way for that brat? I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. Old man Gui Yu expressed his dissatisfaction. When he and Ghost Doctor found out that Yi Qing Luo had suffered grievances in the God class, they dropped whatever they were doing and hurriedly rushed over. He had wanted to support his daughter and suppress those arrogant students from the class of God. But Dmo Xian, that brat, why did he appear so coincidentally? Every minute they would be robbed of all their credit. The Ghost Doctor's sinister eyes flickered. Our debt of standing up for the girl counted on Di Zun. Old man Guyu rubbed his nose. That's a must. When the students of the class of gods heard the conversation between Gui Yu and the Ghost Doctor, they felt a lingering fear. Gui Yu called the venerable sovereign, that kid. The Ghost Doctor actually didn't stop him. Although the Di Zun had gone far away, he was still a Di Zun. What if the venerable sovereign returned? Hearing Gui Yu's rude words, wouldn't he be punished at any minute? Wait a minute. Yi Qing Luo, Gui Yu and the Ghost Doctor's relationship. They were a family. Gui Yu called the venerable sovereign kid. Could it be? Chapter 2272. That Overlord and your class's student Yi Qing Luo, do you know each other? The Devil class students turned their heads and looked at the person who asked the question. The class of gods students immediately averted their eyes, indicating that this question was not what they wanted to ask. But all of them pricked up their ears, which indicated that they were very concerned about this question. The Devil class students' lips curled up as they gave a distant but polite smile. What do you think? They felt. The two of them definitely had something going on a long time ago. Looking at the atmosphere between Yi Qing Luo and the Overlord, no matter how they looked at it, it didn't seem like the first time they met. The two of them stood together and the air was filled with an inexplicable sourness of love. Smelly. No matter how they looked at it, they were a perfect match. Absolutely not the first time they met. But they didn't dare to say it out loud. After all, the male lead in this incident was the high and mighty Overlord. The Overlord was not someone they could make up stories about. The students of Devil class smiled mysteriously at them again. Then, in an orderly manner, they walked towards the three dazed masters. Masters, today's special training has ended. Let's return to the academy to tidy ourselves up. May I know when we will gather tomorrow? The three masters were still in a daze. Dmo Xian and Yi Qing Luo's scene was too shocking. Long Yunzhan had asked twice, but the three masters didn't answer. Until the third time, Bai Mei's sharp and ear-piercing roar awakened the three of them. All of you get out of the class of God. We, the class of God, do not welcome this kind of bullying students. Bai Mei vented her hatred towards Yi Qing Luo onto the Devil class students. Fatty Master coughed violently. His eyes, which were like slits, looked at the 10 Devil class students who were standing in a neat row in front of him, respectfully. These students were all Yi Qing Luo's classmates and brothers. It wasn't hard to tell that they were very united. Their relationship with Gui Yu and Ghost Doctor was also extremely close. What's more, when they met the Overlord, they had never been timid or knelt down. They were masters from the upper realm, and in the lower realm, they had searched for so many elite cultivators for the upper realm. Naturally, they knew more than those students. Naturally, he could tell. It was absolutely not the first time the Overlord and Yi Qing Luo had met each other. To be able to make the Overlord put down everything and accompany Yi Qing Luo to fool around. The relationship between them, they must have an extraordinary relationship. These devil-class students, the masters naturally did not dare to slight them. "Gather here at 5 in the morning," the fat teacher replied. The students of devil class thanked him politely. Just as he was about to leave, he was called back by the fat teacher. "You, although you have a close relationship with the adults, but you are here for special training. You still have no right to ask us to give you special treatment. So," the fat master chose his words carefully. The students of devil class smiled. "Masters, we naturally understand this. Our motive for coming here is to make ourselves stronger, to raise our own abilities. We don't need any special treatment." The fat teacher heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. "That's good. You should hurry up, wait," Long Yunjian suddenly said coldly. He raised his azure blue eyes and stared deeply at Fatty Master. "I hope you can give our devil class some special treatment." The fat master's expression changed slightly. Chapter 2273. Students, this request, forgive us, we really can't agree. Teacher Yi walked over and said with a heavy expression, "In other matters, the class of gods will try our best to satisfy you, but in special training, no one can be special." This was their insistence on their own teaching method. It was also their attitude towards special training. Even if the Overlord personally asked, they would never compromise on the matter of special training. "I hope that the special training of our devil class can be stricter." Long Yunjian looked at the three masters one by one. The masters' solemn expressions loosened and they looked at him in surprise. Did they hear wrongly? The special treatment requested by the devil class, was it stricter on them? Long Yunjian looked at the trio's expressions of disbelief and nodded his head seriously. "Yes, I hope that in this month, our devil class's special training will be stronger than the usual special training of the class of gods." Teacher Xinqing coughed lightly. "Children, do you know what special training the class of gods goes through? How much stronger your bodies?" "We have no problem," Long Yunjian said calmly. "Since I brought it up to you, I am naturally mentally prepared." The other 9 devil class students smiled. "Teacher, we have said before that our main purpose in coming to the class of gods is to become stronger. Don't worry if we can handle it. If we can't, we will not force it." 10 devil class students bowed down respectfully towards the 3 masters in unison. The 3 teachers looked at each other and saw helplessness in each other's eyes. They could not reject the students' request. "All right, since this is your request, we will gradually increase the intensity of your special training. If you can't handle it, you can stop at any time." "Thank you, teacher." The students of the devil class bowed respectfully and left the training grounds. The students of the class of gods looked like they had gone through a big battle. Their uniforms were soaked in sweat. They fell to the ground, panting. Xinqing looked at the direction the students left in. "This group of students. I am really interested, I want to go and understand them." "Yes, go and look for Yen Mu to take a look at the information of the devil class. I have been a teacher for over 10 years and this is the first time that I can't understand the student." Fat teacher nodded. No matter if it was Yi Qing Luo's backing or her forces, it was still the students from the devil class. They were all incomparably shocked. As teachers, they could naturally see the talent and aptitude of each student. Other than Long Yunjian, Qiao Jin, Kitty Li and Mo Yuing, the talents of these 4 people were a little blurry and hazy. As for the other 6, their aptitudes were not bad. But compared to the students from the class of gods, they were clearly miles apart. However, as luck would have it, these students could only be regarded as above-average students. Yet, he was able to easily complete special training missions that even the students of the class of gods couldn't complete. Just what secrets were they hiding? Or could it be that they had experienced some sort of change before? That was why it had become so mysterious and peculiar? Heavenly Academy, Yiqing Luo Dormitory. Yiqing Luo washed off all the perspiration on her body and casually put on a red inner garment before returning to the bed. Dmo Xian laid on the side of the bed in an extremely seductive posture. A head of ribbon-like black hair covered the entire bed. That magnificent face seemed to bear the endless pampering of the world. Chapter 2274. Yiqing Luo didn't argue as she placed her hand into his palm. The man's wrist exerted strength. Yiqing Luo fell into his arms. Her nostrils were filled with his elegant sandalwood scent. She rubbed her little face against his chest, extremely reluctant to leave. Her kitten-like expression made Dmo Xian's face reveal a joyful expression. His lips curled as he gave a low laugh. "What's the matter? Not happy?" Yiqing Luo replied honestly. Dmo Xian's large palm held her face. "With Ghost Doctor and Gu supporting you from the front, I also cooperated with your performance from the back and taught the person you wanted to teach a lesson. Why are you still not happy?" Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips as she stared at him. "You know the answer but still ask." Dmo Xian laughed lightly again. His long arm grabbed, pulling Yiqing Luo into his arms. He was laughing. His chest was heaving up and down. The luxurious brocade robe's patterns caressed her delicate skin. Yiqing Luo struggled as her pink fists hung on his chest. "Dmo Xian? Laugh again and you'll sleep at the entrance tonight." Dmo Xian hugged her petite body tightly. He lowered his head. Mo Yao's pupils seemed like it was decorated with bright stars and ripples after ripples of water. It was extremely captivating. Yiqing Luo's heart, under this gaze, suddenly tightened. "You're angry that I didn't tell you about me in the God class." Dmo Xian's fingertips gently caressed her skin. Bit by bit, as though under his fingertips was this world's peerless treasure. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips silently agreeing. "You're not happy because you don't know what relationship I have with Bai Mei's sister. Because you know I indeed really care about her sister," Dmo Xian continued. His tone was gentle, as though water could be squeezed out. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she became even more displeased. Dmo Xian lifted her lower jaw lightly as his gentle and affectionate gaze directly collided into Yiqing Luo's eyes, heart, limbs and bones. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as she wanted to hide. However, the man's strength was too great, and she couldn't retreat at all. "The reason why I'm in the class of gods, one of the reasons, is because of that map," Dmo Xian explained word by word gently, his eyes filled with indulgence, without a hint of impatience. "That map," Dmo Xian said that the profound flames Dubhe diagram would cause the entire world to fall into an endless war. Was there anything related to the arcane flames Dubhe diagram in the class of gods? Don't think too much, you just need to protect yourself and keep the secret of the map. Leave the rest to me. Dmo Xian lowered his head and planted a light kiss on her forehead. Yiqing Luo was filled with questions, but after Dmo Xian's words, she swallowed them back. Dmo Xian was unwilling to say. No matter how she asked, she couldn't get anything out of him. She knew that the reason why Dmo Xian did not say anything was for her own good. However, in his heart, he always felt depressed. Looking at Yiqing Luo's pair of bright eyes, the light gradually dimmed. Dmo Xian used his chin to rub against her forehead. "Secondly, the most important reason why I'm in the class of gods is that you're coming to the class of gods for special training, and I can still be here to see you." "You? Where are you going?" Why did these words sound so strange? Yiqing Luo suddenly straightened up and pushed Dmo Xian away. Kneeling by his side, she stared at him. "From your tone, it seems like you're not coming back for half a month?" Dmo Xian obediently fell back onto the bed. His silky black hair scattered all over the bed. The man's elegant appearance was like a demon, emitting an irresistible evil charm. Chapter 2275. A monster. What a torturous little demon. Yiqing Luo cursed silently in her heart. However, his face was still expressionless, and his eyes were full of resentment. I have to leave the Nirvana realm for a while, and won't be back for a while. DMO Xian didn't hide anything. Leave the Nirvana realm? Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she grabbed his palm with both hands. Because of the map? Yes, but not entirely. DMO Xian clasped her wrist and pulled her into his arms. His long and narrow eyebrows were slightly raised, forming a demonic arc. His peach blossom eyes glowed with a myriad of splendor that rippled like water. He stroked the hair of the girl in his arms, his voice calm and magnetic. During this period of time, focus on your special training in the class of God. Don't worry about anything else. Don't bother yourself with anything else. Wait for my return. Nestled in the man's arms, Yiqing Luo symbolically struggled for a while. Hearing the news that DMO Xian was going to leave the Nirvana realm for a period of time, Yiqing Luo's heart had an indescribable feeling of uneasiness. She hugged DMO Xian's firm waist and pouted gloomily. Then when are you coming back? Very soon. DMO Xian didn't give a specific time but answered with two firm words. Yiqing Luo gave a soft moan as her little head rubbed against his chest. She did not have the intention to force DMO Xian to stay. DMO Xian was willing to give her the space to grow. She would also give DMO Xian the freedom to solve his problems. DMO Xian's identity was a mystery. His arrogance and disdain for everything seemed to be innate. With her current level, there was no way she could provide him with any help. She could not delay DMO Xian. But Yiqing Luo was even more determined in her belief. She had to pick up the pace. She wanted to be a woman who would make the world feel that she was worthy of DMO Xian. Just like on the training ground, no one believed that DMO Xian would fancy her, even if he had taken a fancy to it. In everyone's eyes, it was just a game. Because no one felt that she was worthy of DMO Xian. That was right, DMO Xian was so noble and mysterious. He didn't seem like someone from the mortal world. She wanted to chase after DMO Xian's footstep. It would take a long time, a very long time. Don't let your imagination run wild. DMO Xian abruptly lifted her delicate body up. We cultivators have a longer lifespan than ordinary people. We have plenty of time, don't be anxious, I'll wait for you. His tone was gentle, filled with confidence and trust from the bottom of his heart. The gentle voice easily pierced into Yiqing Luo's heart. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned slightly sour as her lips curled into a brilliant smile, burying her head into his neck. I will do my best. DMO Xian patted her head. After hugging for a while, Yiqing Luo's thoughts returned and suddenly her expression changed as she tugged at DMO Xian's collar. Wait! Why did the topic suddenly change so much? You don't even think of using sweet words to change the topic. Tell me honestly, what kind of secret do you have with Bai Mei's sister? Leniency for those who confess, severity for those who resist. DMO Xian's honey trap. He could flirt with her until she forgot about him. He had almost forgotten about the most important question. A woman's possession was no less than a man's. Especially the man she loved. In front of Bai Mei, she casually expressed that Sister Bai Mei was very old and she wasn't worried. But in fact, DMO Xian's reaction towards Sister Bai Mei made her heart feel a knot. Yiqing Luo wasn't a pretentious person. Chapter 2276. After all, if the two of them were together, if there was any unhappiness, they could talk it out face to face. This was the best solution. Otherwise they would keep it in their hearts. The more they held it in, the more things they would imagine and the sadder their hearts would be. Over time, once it exploded, their feelings would be impacted and cracks would form. Yiqing Luo knelt beside DMO Xian. She could clearly see the expression on DMO Xian's face. When she mentioned Bai Mei's sister, DMO Xian's pair of shimmering eyes flashed obviously. It wasn't easy to detect, but Yi Qing Luo caught it. Her pink lips pursed even tighter. She wasn't suspecting that Dmo Xian had some special feelings for Bai Mei's sister. But it was extremely not this feeling of not knowing anything. She could ignore Dmo Xian's overly secretive and important matters. But this matter concerned women. Yi Qing Luo didn't want to be isolated and ignorant. Bai Mei's sister. Her identity, I can't tell you for now. Dmo Xian sighed softly as he lowered his eyes and held her hand, gently caressing it. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased. All the unhappy and unpleasant emotions were clearly displayed on her face. Dmo Xian sighed again. He got up slightly and put his arm around Yi Qing Luo's shoulder. But I can tell you, towards her, I only admire. Admiration? This word, coming out from Dmo Xian's mouth, really made one rather shocked. The person whom Dmo Xian admired, what kind of person would that be? He used the word admire. It was enough to show that Dmo Xian indeed had no such thoughts towards Bai Mei's sister. He only treated her as an elder and respected her. Elder? Yi Qing Luo thought of Bai Mei's half-aged, half-feminine face, as she couldn't help but burst out laughing with a p sound. She didn't know where Bai Mei got her courage from, to dare to have improper thoughts towards Dmo Xian. What's more, she even gave her own sister to Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian narrowed his peach blossom eyes as he spoke in a low voice. Happy now? Still not happy. Yi Qing Luo arrogantly raised her little chin and snorted. A lot of those feelings all start from admiration. Now it's admiration, but after you admire her more and more, you won't be able to forget her in your heart, and then. And then what? Dmo Xian's thin lips curved upwards as he asked in a low and hoarse voice. Yi Qing Luo was bewitched by his smile as her little heart pounded wildly. She bit her pink lips and her voice became softer. Then you ran away with her. Dmo Xian leaned forward and his husky magnetic laughter tickled her eardrums bit by bit. Didn't you say that I like this type of young and pretty little beauty? Bai Mei was already so old. Wasn't her sister even older? Why would I run away with her? I don't care. Anyway, other than me, you can't give any feelings to other women. Yi Qing Luo was as overbearing as a child. Her little hand clutched Dmo Xian's collar as she pouted. This kind of coquettish act made Dmo Xian's heart melt. It was Dmo Xian's first time seeing this. Seeing the seriousness in the girl's eyes, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. Lil Luo cared so much about her. Possession Valley owed so much. This also meant that she had truly treated him as her man. Lil Luo's character, she understood it all too well. Dmo Xian's long and narrow peach blossom eyes curved as he looked at Yi Qing Luo with a grin. Lil Luo is so overbearing, then have you thought of what method to use, to give all my feelings to you alone? Chapter 2277. Yi Qing Luo stared at Dmo Xian. How could he not understand the deep meaning behind Dmo Xian's words? This man really knew how to take a mile when given an inch. Although he was complaining in his heart. However, when he met that pair of smiling peach blossom eyes, her heart softened a little. She glared at Dmo Xian again in annoyance. She tugged at Dmo Xian's collar as she bent down and bit down hard on Dmo Xian's lip. Then, he stood up and snorted, I've stamped my mark here, so you're mine. Dmo Xian laughed heartily as he leaned against the headboard. His slender fingers glowed with flowing fluorescent light. Bit by bit, he wiped his lips. He chuckled like a fox. That's all. You still want a foot after giving me an inch? Believe it or not, I will kick you off the bed right now. Yi Qing Luo's cheeks were slightly red as she lifted her leg to kick Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian's large palm easily caught Yi Qing Luo's little feet. Yi Qing Luo struggled and shook her legs, but the man refused to let go. She just came out of the shower. Her two fair feet were caught in Dmo Xian's palm. Yi Qing Luo's face turned even redder as she couldn't help but call out, Dmo Xian. DMO Xian's lips curled into a sinister smile. His eyes were gloomy as he stared at his palm, at the snow-white, delicate and lovely feet. Suddenly, he slowly pressed his lips on the instep of his foot. Yiqing Luo's breathing seemed to have stopped. Her eyes widened, and when she came back to her senses, she wanted to pull her leg back even more. The glint in DMO Xian's eyes turned darker and darker. Some kind of emotion was stirring in his heart. His low and hoarse voice was like a scorching fire, wrapping around Yiqing Luo. "Lil Luo, are you sure you want to buy my feelings just like that?" Yiqing Luo knew that he did it on purpose. He wanted her to take the initiative. She gritted her teeth and looked at the devilish smile on the face of unparalleled beauty in front of her. She suddenly pounced forward and pressed onto DMO Xian. "DMO Xian, see if I don't make you hover between life and death." The next day, Yiqing Luo was hovering between life and death when she was shaken awake by Kitty Li. Her whole body was sore and limp. He opened his sleepy eyes and saw a cute and delicate little face in front of him. The two ears on the top of her head were still twitching nonstop. Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand and stroked Kitty Li's head before hugging her in her arms. "Kitty cat, accompany me to continue sleeping for a while." "Sister." Li's little claws pried Yiqing Luo's hand away. "Get up quickly, we're about to gather at the class of gods. The fat teacher said that we must gather before the hour of the morning. No one is allowed to be late." Class of gods? Gather? Yiqing Luo's chaotic mind suddenly cleared up. She sat up on the bed. "What time is it now?" "You have the time it takes for an incense stick to burn to prepare." Kitty Li puffed up her cheek. "The Overlord really doesn't know how to care for you. He knows that we still need special training, but he still tortures you like this." Yiqing Luo blushed as she cupped Kitty Li's little face and rubbed it hard. "Kitty cat, you're still a child, don't talk about such a mature topic." Kitty Li let out a meow meow sound, her little claws flapping about. Yiqing Luo let go of her face. "Be good, go wait outside, I'll be out soon." Kitty Li reluctantly walked out of Yiqing Luo's room. Yiqing Luo endured the soreness and limp body and climbed up. The bedding on the bed had been changed into a new one. Her uniform was hanging by the side, even the underwear was prepared in an orderly manner. Yiqing Luo blushed. Chapter 2278. Yiqing Luo's face was filled with disdain, but she was actually overjoyed as she quickly put on her clothes. In her mind, she was still recalling the words DMO Xian said when he left while hugging her. DMO Xian said that before he returned, Bai Mei would not have the chance to appear in front of her. The teachers and students in Class of Gods would definitely not dare to go against Devil Class. In Class of Gods, he had a friend who was a student in Class of Gods. If he was not around and met with any unsolvable problems, he could look for that friend for help. Yiqing Luo was in a daze from DMO Xian's torment and didn't listen to him at all. Now that she was awake, she recalled what DMO Xian said. She was slightly stunned. Friend? Student? DMO Xian's friend in Class of Gods? And a student? Why didn't she feel that any student in Class of Gods was friends with DMO Xian at the training ground? DMO Xian seemed to have said something at the end. She was in a daze and didn't hear it clearly. Hearing Kitty Li's urging from outside, Yiqing Luo shook her head. Let's not think about these things for now. She must rush to the training ground before 5 in the morning. She had just been in the limelight in Class of Gods yesterday. If she was late today, it would only make the students in Class of Gods even more certain that she was bullying others. After a quick tidying up, Yiqing Luo dragged Kitty Li and headed towards Class of Gods' courtyard. When they reached the training ground, it was exactly 5 in the morning. Not considered late. Yiqing Luo heaved a sigh of relief as she looped one arm around Kitty Li's shoulder and panted heavily. Upon seeing this, the students of Devil Class, one by one, they walked over with ambiguous smiles. Qing Luo, look at your sleepy face, don't tell me. You didn't sleep at all last night? Where's the Overlord? Why don't I see him accompanying you? Don't tell me. The Overlord has been squeezed dry by Qing Luo and is still resting in the room? Each teasing was more ridiculous than the other. Qing Luo's face turned slightly red at the start, and towards the end, her face turned gloomy as she clenched her fist and threw a punch towards Qiao Jin, who was nearest to her. You're trying to silence me. Qiao Jin covered his face and jumped back a few steps. The 11 of them joked around, causing the air flow in the silent and oppressive training ground to ease a little. The students of the class of gods were getting more and more suspicious. This group of students from the devil class actually dared to make fun of the Overlord. It could be seen that the students of the devil class usually had a very good relationship with the Overlord. That was to say, Dmo Xian and Qing Luo had long been a couple? The Ghost Doctor, Old Man Gui Yu, and now Di Zun. Who in the class of gods would dare to find trouble with the class of devils? That person's brain must be stuffed with grass to be able to do such a thing. Cough, cough, cough. The fat master cleared his throat. The devil class students immediately stopped joking around and quickly returned to the middle of the training ground, standing in line. The students from the class of gods silently shifted to the side, afraid that they would accidentally bump into the class of devils and become the next cannon fodder. 3 masters stood in front of the students of the 2 classes. His gaze was extremely dignified as he swept a glance across the crowd. His deep voice was steady. Bai Mei's behavior is improper and vulgar, leading the students wrongly. The class of gods represents the Heavenly Academy to remove Bai Mei's position as a master, and this matter will be recorded in the main academy's archives.